Welcome to the Sharpe Show. It is 7 p.m. on the East Coast. And yes, I am here. And you might say, Larry, I noticed today that while you're here, you don't have on your cool Larry Sharpe shirt. I don't. I'm wearing a collared shirt today. Why? It's debate time. Yes, it is. It is debate time. The Democrats had their primary debate. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday on CBS 880. The same group of people who immediately dissed me 4 years ago when they decided that I wasn't worthy. So they didn't let me on last time for the debates. However, they did have a debate with the three Democratic nominees. I'm going to talk about how terrible it was, but there was some bright spots. Without question, there was some bright spots. And you know, as I go through debates, it's going to be fun. It is. It's going to be good. And if you know it's going to be good, then do the right thing. You know what I'm going to ask. Click that like button or the love button or the hate button, whatever, one of the buttons. Please comment and share so that people know that something cool is about to happen and they can watch. It does matter. I think you'll like it very much. Please do so. It does matter. And before this show is done, or while you're listening, you could also do me a favor, head over to libertarianism.com. Right? Click that link right there. Head over there, see what's going on. But more importantly, I know many of you who watch have already gone there. No worries. I'm glad you have. Share that link with others. Put that someplace too. So I'm giving you two things to share. Take your time on how you share them. Share this show and share that link. Those two things are going to help us out tremendously. So let me get into it if I could. This happened yesterday. Let me see if I can make this work here. This happened yesterday. And we're going to watch how they begin and how the Democrats walk down this road. Here's what they do.
Podium positions have all been selected at random. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to our questions.
Now, that's funny. They do 1 minute. They shouldn't. It should be at least 2 minutes. But it doesn't matter because all they do is sound bites anyway. So they miles do 30 seconds.
A rebuttal, when necessary, will be 45 seconds. And candidates, we are asking you to please respect the time limits. We will turn off the microphones if they are exceeded.
Turn mics off.
Now, all that being said, we're going to get right into it. First question for you tonight, Mr. Williams.
First question.
In light of all the mass shootings and with the Supreme Court poised to overturn all or part of New York.
Now, some of you who don't know, that is Jumaane Williams. And Jumaane Williams is currently the public advocate for New York City. It's kind of like the vice mayor. He's ticking like this because he actually has Tourette's. So he has Tourette's. I've met him. He's actually a pretty good guy. Don't really like all his answers. However, he's a good guy. He pushes through stuff. He's in the mix. I'm going to give the guy credit where credit is due. And he's up here. He's got Tourette's. He's got tics. And he's still doing this. I mean, brother, kudos for that. 100%. So credit where credit is due.
Century-old law prohibiting people from carrying guns without a permit. What steps are you prepared to take to prevent our city and state from becoming the wild, wild west?
Now, I hate this and I love this. I love it because it shows how terribly biased they are, but I hate it because the question is so terrible. In case you didn't get it, they're worried. They're saying, look, the Supreme Court may allow people to carry guns. What? That might actually happen here. If it does, it's going to break the laws and basically invalidate the laws in New York State that you can't do that. What are you prepared to do to make sure New York State doesn't become the wild, wild west? Here's why I hate this. Number one, there are states that allow you to carry. Are they the wild, wild west? No. You know what state is the wild, wild west? New York State is. And we have the worst gun laws in the entire country. We just had Buffalo shooting. We have people being shot in the city. We have kids, literally videos of kids walking the streets, grabbing their firearms and shooting them in the air. New York State is the wild, wild west with your crappy gun laws. The appropriate question is, hey, Jumaane, New York State's the wild, wild west with these terrible gun laws. What are you going to do about that? Now, that at least would have been a real question. But their assumption is, if this happens, there's going to be a dystopian world in New York State. New York State is the dystopian world. This dystopian fantasy you're concocting is not a future fantasy. It is today. Our state now is that. So this whole concept of, if this happens, the world will end. The world's ending now. I can't stand that concept. Yeah, the world will end. It's ending now.
Thank you so much for having us today, and thank you for that question. It's a hard question to answer in 60 seconds, but I'm
Yes.
public advocate of the city of New York. I've been working on these issues for over a decade. And just let me
Yeah.
tell you something that I know. When I saw the bill signing yesterday, and it's already a commercial now, it reminded me of.
Now, to be clear, he's talking about the bill sign that the governor did. She did like 10 laws on guns, right? You got to have that micro etching, and you got to, make sure that, the cops report the gun that's been used in 24 hours and all those utterly useless gun laws that she has just put into place, which I hammered and said they're useless. What do you think Jumaane Williams is going to say about it? You may be surprised.
The Cuomo press conferences during the pandemic. And I'll tell you why. It was in the middle of the Bronx that has some of the highest shootings that we've seen.
The highest shootings that we've seen. It is the Wild Wild West, as I said.
Unfortunately, those bills that were signed primarily deal with mass shootings. And we have told the Bronx that we've dealt with the street crime that they are dealing with every single day.
This is why I like Jumaane, right? I do. And some of you are going to be mad because he's a lefty. He is a lefty, no question. But he's correct, right? His prescriptions I disagree with. But his viewing of the field is accurate. And he's saying these laws aren't going to help anybody getting shot in the Bronx. These laws mean nothing for people getting shot throughout the cities in our state. He's right.
The one bill that may have dealt with street crimes is micro stamping. We have asked for that for over 10 years. I wish we could have had the support of the governor.
Look at that face.
And why that bothers me is because this is not theoretical for me. This is not esoteric. We have to deal with the real street violence. And
he's right.
In between those press conferences, death is happening.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Ms. Hochul?
He's right.
We are prepared to address the situation where we anticipate the Supreme Court to overturn a law that's been on the books in the state of New York for nearly 100 years. Literally this afternoon, I convened my policy team as well as working with every town and other advocates to come up with the different scenarios. I will tell you within hours of that Supreme Court decision, we will have a response. I've already spoken to the leaders.
See, so she doesn't have an answer to his question. She's going to say, we're going to sue him back. That's her answer. So she doesn't have an answer for the gun violence. She has no answer for what Jumaane just said. People dying in the cities. Jumaane's talking about the Bronx. I think Jumaane is actually from Brooklyn originally. But again, to give Jumaane credit, that dude, he's in the neighborhoods. He does, his survey of what's happening is accurate. She has no answer.
Of the Assembly and the Senate about the possibility of even bringing them back for an extraordinary session in order to address this. We cannot have a situation where people can literally carry a gun into subways, into grocery stores.
They're doing it right now. Literally right now.
With reckless abandon. And
what she did, literally doing it now. This is mind-blowing. All it would do is would give people who don't want to have reckless abandon to actually defend themselves. That's what it would do. The people who have reckless abandon are already doing it.
I pray the Supreme Court doesn't do that, but we're ready here in New York to take action to protect the people of the state. That is our number one responsibility. So we're ready. And the press conference.
Why is your number one responsibility to protect every New Yorker? Where is that in your job description? Where is that in the oath you took? It isn't. You just made that up. I want to be clear. There's no place in the Constitution of New York State, no place in the governor's job description, no place in her oath that says my number one job is to keep every New Yorker safe. If that's true, she sucks at it. We're being shot every day. So she's bad at it if that's even true. It's not working, but why is it her job? It's like I'm driving a bus and you get on a bus and I go, all right, guys, it's my job to make sure you all know how to swim. You go, what? Yeah, I'm going to make sure you all know how to swim. What are you doing? I'm a bus driver. And my number one job is to make sure you all know how to swim. They're like, why don't you drive the bus? How about you sit down and drive the bus? No. I'm going to make sure you all got it. That's my number one job. I just made that up. She's doing that. Your number one job isn't to keep us all safe. It's to defend our rights. But you threw that out the window. You're literally the bus driver teaching us how to swim. That's what you are right now.
Yesterday, yes, we got so much done that had been hampered and unfulfilled for a decade. And I'm really proud.
And here's the best part is, all three of these people have been in New York politics in positions of authority for over a decade. All three of them. And all they can do is go, things are terrible. This is terrible. If only there was someone here who was in charge who could have fixed this. It's you. You guys were all in charge. If New York State sucks, and it does, it's because of you.
We were able to get that over the finish line, again, to protect New Yorkers, whether it's from gun violence in grocery stores or on the streets of Brooklyn or the Bronx or Harlem.
Mr. Swazi.
People who are
there's a crime crisis and a gun crisis here in New York, and people are suffering.
Now, he's right. A crime crisis and a gun crisis. It's really just crime. But it's a crime crisis. At least he says the right thing. The other guys just go gun violence. He's actually saying the issue. It's crime.
Every single day. The governor talks about making crime and guns a priority, but 69% of New Yorkers say that she's failing on crime.
Because she is.
She talks about crime, but she didn't address the issue of bail reform.
At all.
Even worse, when the governor was a member of Congress, she voted with, was endorsed by, and took money from the NRA. Where's the principle in that? I'm a proven executive. I'm trained.
This one, I got to tell you, I'm going to try to give credit where credit is due. That was 10 years ago. So who knows? I don't know. Look, I don't trust Kathy Hochul. So I think she's just a plastic person who's decided that she'll just go with whoever will get her votes. That's what I think. However, I could be wrong. People do change their minds, right? If I go back 10 years ago, I wasn't the same. I didn't have the same thought process that I have now either. So I do give someone the benefit of the doubt that maybe you do change. I was nowhere near the strong libertarian that I am now 10 years ago. So, I mean, that could happen. I want to give her the benefit of the doubt in this case.
As a CPA and attorney, I was the mayor of my hometown. I was the county executive of Nassau County. I've been a member of Congress for the past 5 years, half a year.
Nassau County is terrible. That's the highest tax rate in the goddamn country. These are not good things. Saying you've been in charge of New York State for the past 10 years, that's not a good thing, right? That's not a good thing, right? It's like saying, I've been a coach of the losing team for 10 years. My team has sucked, and I've been the coach for 10 years. We've been terrible. All we do is lose, and I've been the coach, so I'm ready to go. This is not a badge of honor.
Where I have an F rating from the NRA and co-sponsor every piece of gun violence prevention legislation.
That's not.
I will fight crime. It's my number one priority. Address the gun crisis we're facing here in New York State. I'll cut taxes. I'll help our troubled schools, and I'll go after the corruption that the Washington.
You got magic powers. I've never heard that before. I'm going to cut taxes. Never heard that before. Go after corruption. Never heard that before. Fight crime. Never heard that before. Can you give me any way you would do that? No.
Washington Post called "Make New York State the most corrupt state in the United States of America." There's a big difference between making a speech and passing legislation and actually getting things done. I can do it because I've done it.
I'd like to rebut.
Yeah, but you've been bad at all these things. I love that. I've been running the state for a long. I have tons of experience. Have you had any successes? No. I suck completely at everything I do. Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's not a good thing.
Just 15 seconds.
No governor has done more in less time than I have to address gun violence. And I'll address that NRA situation.
This is true. No one's done more to address gun violence than she has. That's true. Because you've had the first person that mass shooting on your excuse me, in New York State on your watch. That's accurate. Have you done anything to assist it or help it or make it better? No. But you've talked about it.
That was a decade ago, judging what I've done, because a lot of people have evolved since I took that position. You know what we need? More people to evolve. We have to change the hearts and minds of people all over this country.
She's right on that one.
Finally have common sense legislation from Washington.
Okay, thank you.
Well, the last part I didn't agree, but people should evolve. She's right on that. Again, credit where credit is due. She should.
We're going to move on.
Yeah, this is important because 10 years ago, I wrote my first report on how to deal with gun violence while the governor was touting her A rating for the NRA. I wish we had her support. So in between that decade of death, we might have gotten where we are today. We are
decade of death, Jamani punching. Decade of, he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
10 years behind because people in Congress were doing the bidding of the NRA. And what happened yesterday will do nothing for the 25 people that died in Buffalo on top of the 10 people who were massacred.
This is a Democrat saying the gun laws you just passed will do nothing. This is a Democrat saying the gun laws you just passed will do nothing. I want to repeat that one more time. This is a Democrat from New York City that said publicly, the gun laws you just passed will do nothing. Not just me, guys. not just me.
For 6 months.
And I'll only take 50. I'll only take 50
Excuse me, the next
seconds.
question is for the governor, Mr. Swazi. Governor Hochul, the man accused of killing the Goldman Sachs researcher on the Q train is an example of someone with a long rap sheet who was freed after a judge denied a request for $15,000 bail and instead set $1. Many charge that if New York had allowed judges to consider dangerousness like 49 other states, he wouldn't have been on the streets, and maybe Daniel Enrique.
Well, the idea that, for those who don't know, the bail reform bill, which was a disaster, actually said, well, you can't really consider dangerousness. You can't really deal with that issue as a judge. You don't have that, flexibility. Other states do allow that. That's what she's talking about.
Might still be allowed.
When it comes to bail.
Why didn't you use the considerable powers of the governor to veto budget items and bills near and dear to the heart of the lawmakers to enact a dangerousness statute?
That crime was heartbreaking to know that people are living in that kind of fear, and that is why we did address this. And I'll tell you something about bail reform, though. The fundamental premise behind bail reform, the change of it, was needed. We had to do.
This is true. Again, I'm going to give her credit where credit is due. Bail reform needed to happen. That's an accurate statement. The way we did it in New York, disaster. However, the concept of bail reform, absolutely true, should change. That is true. We just did it in probably the worst way you could have possibly done it. I almost feel like they meant it to fail.
System where two people accused of the same offense.
She's right.
One would go to Rikers and one could go back home, usually based on the color of their skin. But when I see a problem or a law that needs to be fixed, I jump into it. That's what we did in my budget. And what we did on bail reform, we came up with more standards than judges have ever had in the last few years since it was changed. They can now look at past history, the seriousness of the crime, whether or not there was an order.
And I'm going to give her credit for this too. And I'm going to hammer something that will make some of you angry, but I don't care. It's true. The people to blame initially were the legislators who let this hunk of garbage go through. That's number one. But that's bad. Here's where it's worse. We actually allowed the judges to get away with this. Our judiciary in New York State should be ashamed of itself. Yes, I'll say it right to your face. I hope you're watching. You should be ashamed of yourself. Larry, these judges had no choice. Of course they had a choice. They could have simply said, I'm not letting the guy out. He's got bail. They would have said, that's against the law. Great. I guess we'll go to appellate courts then. I guess we'll appeal then. I guess we'll do something to now have judgments and rulings that would have fixed this bill. And that's what I said 2 years ago when this came out. I'm on record saying we'll be okay. I was wrong on this one, and I'm usually right. I didn't think our judges were that terrible human beings. I assumed that they would not let this bail reform go the way it is, and they would instead say, you know what? I'm not letting these people out who are obviously a danger to New Yorkers. So of course they wouldn't do that. So they would just go, no, and make the other judges create rulings, and they realize how bad this is. You might go, Larry, they couldn't. The law wouldn't let them. Let me give you an idea. What if the chimpanzees in our assembly and Senate decided that there was going to be a law that if you were convicted of graffiti at 17 years old, that there was a mandatory minimum of the death penalty. And that was all that was passed and signed by our empty suit governor. Yep, signs the governor. Yep, if you're 17, convicted of graffiti because we want to stop, be tough on crime, execution, mandatory execution in New York State, bring it back that penalty. That happens in New York State. You're a judge. The jury says, yep, guilty. You now have to sentence a 17-year-old who's convicted of graffiti to death. Do you do it? Well, my hands are tied. You're a horrible human being if you would do that. Of course you don't do that. No sane human being would go, well, I guess it's the law. You're dead, 17-year-old kid who spray painted on a wall. Of course you wouldn't. You would say, no, I'm not doing that. That's insanity. I don't care what the chimpanzees in the Assembly and Senate said. No, I don't care what the empty suit in Albany signed. No, I'm a judge. I'm not executing a 17-year-old. Of course you wouldn't. You'd be a horrible human being if you would. And you'd say, good, I guess we'll go to appellate court. I guess they'll fire me. I guess we'll go back and forth. But we will create a ruling that will show how dumb this is, how immoral this is. Why didn't they do that with bail reform? Why didn't judges go, this guy's clearly gonna hurt people. He should be in jail. I'm not letting him out. I'm giving him bail. Too bad. I guess we'll see the appellate courts. They didn't. They didn't. Why? Because the judges were mad, because she's right. They had more guidelines than ever, and the judiciary in New York said, you can't do that to us. And they watched New Yorkers be punished and die and be killed because they were angry because they had to do bail reform. Shame on those judges. Shame on them. You're a judge. Act like it. But you don't. You support the state and yourself and your own system. That's all you care about. You're supposed to care about the rights. You're our judiciary. You're supposed to be caring about the rights of New Yorkers. You don't do that. If you did, you wouldn't let these guys out. But you did. But no one says that. I will say that. Shame on those judges. They should have said, no, I'm not letting them out. It would have gone to the courts, and then we would have had rulings, and bail reform would have been fixed in our courts, which is what I said would happen because I couldn't imagine how bad our judges are. Shame on me. Shame on me. I will admit my error. I should never assume how bad our judges are in New York State. They're freaking terrible. I should always assume the worst. That's what I would have been right if I'd assumed the worst. I didn't. They didn't mind people dying and being shoved off of trains. You can't touch us, we're judges. Well, you're right. I guess you win, judges. People died because you were mad. Okay.
Protection before, whether or not a gun was used. So we gave the power for judges to analyze this and look at it differently than they had been before we made those changes.
But Governor, do you regret that you couldn't get dangerousness as part of your reforms?
What I just described gives the judges discretion to
She's
analyze
actually right. The judges, the governor's right.
Specificity than just the word dangerousness is subjective. I said, do they have an order of protection? Is there a history of gun use?
I hate to say it.
The severity of the crime.
Governor's correct.
So I think what we gave the judges is better than this vague term that can be subjective and many times used against an individual because of the color of their skin. We don't need to go backwards. We need to go forward in a thoughtful way, but we're not compromising either justice or safety.
Mr. Suozzi.
She's not wrong on this one.
I
100%
support giving judges the discretion to consider dangerousness of the defendants who come before them. As you mentioned, Marcia, the same as it is in 49 other states in the United States of America. The governor says she cares about crime. She wants to address crime, but she does nothing to fix bail reform.
He's not wrong either.
It's hard to imagine that this governor can continue to say that she cares about crime, but 69% of New Yorkers say she's failing on crime. She says 100%. She jumps right in. Well, when it came to the Buffalo Bills Stadium, she got something done that nobody thought could get done. It's so unpopular. It's $1 billion, the most lucrative deal in the history of the NFL. She got that done. She twisted arms. But when it came to bail reform, she didn't engage. When it came to so many other issues that are important to New Yorkers, like enforcing and implementing the red flag law, she didn't engage. It goes on and on with examples of where you can just talk about something, but it's very different to actually get something done.
You know what? I'm giving a guy some points. He's saying some good stuff. I don't want to just ham everybody. He's got a point. When it came to Buffalo getting that $1 billion, she figured that one out. Didn't care. She figured that one out fast.
That's why it matters if you're a proven executive who has a proven record of getting things done.
Mr. Williams.
Terea Starnes, Jeffrey Whitehead, Dominic Sylvester. Those are people who were in my high school in the 90s who died from gun violence. A bullet went through my mother's car door while it was parked in front of her home. These are not theoretical things for me. These are personal. This is not esoteric. This is why I spent the better part of my career actually finding out what stops gun violence. And so when we asked for $1 billion to be put into the budget to address the type of gun violence that the bills that were signed would never address.
The bills that were signed will never address. Again, I want to be very clear with you guys. This is a New York City Democrat saying the gun laws she signed, useless. But saying you got $1 billion to give to Buffalo, Bills. Sorry, not to Buffalo. Give to the Buffalo Bills. That you got, but not to help me out.
It would not have protected Daniel, that strap hanger who was going to get brunch on a subway. It would have not have stopped 11-year-old Kiera from
Why do
being
you
shot.
think it wouldn't have? Why do you think it wouldn't have stopped the gunman who attacked the guy on the Q train? Why?
Well, dangerousness, I have to tell you, I have to remind folks. As you mentioned, it's in 49 other states. Many of those states have cities whose gun violence is worse than us. That's why you need a governor who has spent their life working on figuring out how to stop the gun violence. I'm proud of the leadership that we took.
So you're against the dangerousness.
But I want to be clear. I'm proud of the leadership that I took in the decade that the governor was supported by the NRA from 2012 to 2018 to help this city become the safest it has ever been. That research, that work that you've done is what I want to take
until 2019
to Albany. From Brooklyn to Buffalo, people are dealing with gun violence in a way that we haven't dealt with in a very long time.
Yes, and it all started in 2020. Let's never forget this. All of the stuff that they're talking about, all the pain and anguish, all the violence and crime, all of this started in 2020. If you go before 2020, being a cop in a city in New York, even New York City, was a tough job and still is a very tough job. But it wasn't a very dangerous job. You didn't get shot at hardly at all. That wasn't a thing before 2020. Now, cops get shot and killed in New York City. That wasn't a thing before 2020. We didn't have this kind of violence in New York City in 2020. Before 2020, that wasn't a thing. Now it is. What happened in 2020 and 2021? Oh, right, lockdowns. Huh, strange. Lockdowns happen, and you lock people up, you put them away, you give them no hope, you encourage the black market, and there's gun violence. Crazy, isn't it? Yeah, I know what causes it too, and I said it 3 years ago.
It's important to have someone that understands just the press conferences, like Andrew Cuomo did while people were dying due to the pandemic, will not stop people from dying. I'm tired of going from press conference.
Jamani, you were killing it.
Marsha, I need to address that, please.
Go ahead. Let me be clear. Jamani's got Tourette's. He's got issues with him physically, and he's killing it like this. Props to you, brother. Well done.
The purpose of the press conference, gathering people, was to take a pen and sign into law 10 bills that no one had ever undertaken before. You mentioned microstepping took a decade. I've been the governor for 9 months. I got it done in record time. I made sure that we have
You made sure that we passed 10 useless laws that your own Democrats say are useless. I guess that's good. Yeah, I got all these useless laws passed like that. They'll do nothing at all. My own fellow Democrats say they're useless. Well done.
To go to community violence disruption programs, tripling the amount of money so we can get at root causes, but all.
Because you know what the answer is? Money in violence prevention programs. Because what could go wrong? They've worked in exactly, hold on, right? 0 cities. They don't work. That's not a thing, right? Private groups make it happen. No government programs. We've had government programs in New York City for what, 100 years? I don't know how long it's been. And we still got violence. Your programs don't work. You just make more money. We pay for it and nothing changes. The guy who's in the city, Democrat, tells you your stuff doesn't work.
Also give the tools to law enforcement to do their jobs, banning ghost guns, banning guns that defy description. You should.
Yeah, banning guns that defy description and banning ghost guns. All of the shooters. I'm trying to count all of the mass shooters who use ghost guns. Oh right, none. Not one of them. None. Not a thing.
See some of these weapons that we're seizing, and you know why we're seizing them? Because I told our state police to work for the first time ever with 9 other states, put together a consortium and stop the illegal guns from flowing from Georgia and Tennessee and Pennsylvania into our streets.
You had it for weeks, and we still have Buffalo. You had it for weeks. Guys got shot just last weekend. Yeah, I'm glad you keep saying you're doing these things, but you're failing. It's like saying, well, I've been working hard with my baseball team. Yeah, but your team doesn't win ever. Yeah, but we're working hard, and we started a new regimen of exercising. Yeah, but you suck. Yeah, but we have another regimen. Yes, but your team sucks. You shouldn't be telling me all the things you're doing because your team sucks.
The microstamping bill doesn't take effect for 4 years. People were being shot in the next 4 years while we wait for that microstamping bill.
And let me just say one thing.
Just 15
All 3 of us up here support.
15 seconds, Mr. Suozzi.
All 3 of us up here support the gun legislation that's been passed. It's great. It's wonderful.
That's not true. Jamani does not. You're lying. You support it because you're just a stamp, right? You're just a stamp. You're an empty suit. So of course you support it. Jamani doesn't. He's already said it. He doesn't.
beautiful. It's fantastic. Only one of us standing up here has ever been endorsed by the NRA, taken money from the NRA.
Okay, we're going to move on.
It doesn't make you evil. I mean, look, the NRA is useless. That's accurate. Gun Owners of America, way better. NRA is useless. They're just a Republican front group. They don't stop bad gun laws. All they do is come out and take your money and lie and support Republicans winning who don't support the Second Amendment. That's all the NRA does. Gun Owners of America, that's the organization. GOA. That's what you should be looking at, not NRA. GOA.
Thank you all. Mr. Suozzi, this is for you. What do you have to say about the House ethics probe into charges that you failed for years to, in a timely fashion, report stock transactions worth hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Now, that's a punch. He says, you failed to report in a timely manner. Now, I got to be forward. All of these Congress people are scamming on the stock market. All of them are. All of them. Tom is no worse than any of the rest of them. So I'm going to, again, give him fair on this one. And you fail to report in a timely manner. He's still reporting. This guy did not lie. He just reported late a couple times. He did fix it. So this is a bogus question. This is just a gotcha question, which is silly. This is not worth it. It just makes him look bad for no reason.
The main point you just made there is a timely fashion. Every year I would file annual disclosures as required by the House. And my accountant discussed it with the House Ethics Committee every single year. After 5 years, they said, you have to file periodic transaction reports as well every 45 days after a trade. When they told us that, we did it. It's a paperwork thing. It's a paperwork error.
This isn't that bad.
The reality
this is a gotcha
we corrected it.
There are many reasons to not like this empty suit. That's not one of them. He's as bad as all the rest.
And we're moving forward with this on a going forward basis. But this is nothing compared to a lieutenant governor getting arrested, a hand-picked lieutenant governor getting arrested for bribery and corruption. This is nothing compared to the Buffalo Bills deal, which was a secret deal that was not even gone through any single public hearing, despite the fact it's the largest giveaway of taxpayer dollars in the history of the NFL.
Now that's nice. They said, what about you? He said, what about her? Psh, nice. And everything he just said is totally correct. Hochul's way more corrupt than this guy. This guy's like regular corrupt, right? So like, he's like vanilla corrupt. So Hochul, oh, she's another level corrupt. Different issue.
You want to rebut?
Oh, I'd be delighted to.
Of course you would. Tell me some issues. Tell me some. Shamana, you're not corrupt.
Let me talk about that lieutenant governor situation because it was very, very disappointing to me that those charges were brought because we worked with the information we had at the time.
Okay, he was under investigation when she picked him. I want to be clear on that. He was under investigation when she picked him.
And I promised the voters of New York and the people of the state that I would do everything I can to restore their faith in government. And that was a setback.
It was.
But I have been able to build an incredible team, the most diverse, the most talented.
Oh, so this is what she falls back on. So the guy you picked was corrupt, and you knew he was corrupt. Well, that was a setback. Not, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I thought something, or even that he lied to me. None of that. She just goes, well, that happened. But by the way, diversity, checkbox. See, you can't mess with me. I'm a woman. She pulls out the diversity card. And sadly, for many Democrats, this works. For too many, it works.
Group of individuals, people like Catherine Garcia to lead our state operations, Dr. Mary Bassett. So I have put together a leadership team that is second to none, and it's mostly driven by women because they see the world very differently.
See, women are better than men, but that's not sexist. Whenever she falls into any problem, she will always go into IDPOL. She will go into identity politics like that. No one is worse. Jumaane Williams is from the city. He's from the hood where he grew up. He's black. He doesn't use identity politics as much as she does. He does. She's worse. As soon as it comes to but diversity and like women and stuff. So don't be mad at me. And she smiles and she says, see, I'm a woman. You can't do that.
In a way that has not been part of a leadership team of this state in its history. So I'm proud of what we've done, and I know our new Lieutenant Governor, Antonio Delgado, is going to be an amazing partner
until he's
leading this
arrested.
state forward for the years to come.
Governor, the next question happens to be for
Mr.
you.
Williams, before we move on.
What I wanted to say is when I began to run for governor, what I said was that if we're not careful, we're going to get more of what we got with former Governor Cuomo. Unfortunately, when we look at this budget, when we look at the legislative session, the question we should ask are the New Yorkers who need the most help better off? And they aren't. And that's because of how Albany works. And that's what I want to focus on as governor, to make sure the
He's not wrong. I'm telling you, he's not wrong.
people who aren't housed, who are facing eviction, who are facing foreclosure, who do not have health care, who are dealing with real gun violence, can have a governor that understands how to really address those issues.
Thank you.
Governor, there have been questions about the propriety of your involvement in the Buffalo Bills Stadium deal.
Yeah.
Given the fact that your husband is general counsel to a company which holds concession rights at the current Bill Stadium, to avoid the appearance of impropriety, should that company be precluded from bidding on the concessions at the new stadium?
Now, just to be clear, if these don't get this, her hubby is already wealthy. She's wealthy, hubby's wealthy. So they're both wealthy. And not that I'm against you being wealthy. I hope everyone watching is wealthy. Please make lots of money. I'm not against this at all. My point is she's trying to pretend like she is so above the fray. Yet if the Buffalo Bills get that big stadium and get all their goodies, someone has to sell the popcorn and the beer and the soda, right? All those things. And her hubby is going to make a killing. Yeah, what a surprise that is. And I says, well, you know what? In propriety, maybe your hubby's company shouldn't be able to bid on those concessions. It's a large company. It bids on other stuff. Maybe they shouldn't do that.
I worked hard to structure the best deal I could for the benefit of the taxpayers.
Then you suck. If you actually worked to get the best deal, you are a terrible negotiator. That is this is literally, and I mean this literally, the worst deal ever in the history of stadiums in America. That's not hyperbole. This is the worst deal in the history of stadiums in America. I got the best deal I could. Wow, you're terrible. You're bad at what you do. You should have walked away and you should have hired me to do it. I would have got a much better deal, and I would have charged you nowhere near $1 billion. Not even close.
Negotiating that. There is no connection between this company that does concessions. They literally sell beer and hot dogs at the games.
Yep.
They had nothing to do with negotiations.
No one said they had something to do with negotiations. See, that's distraction. She didn't go, they were in the table. No. But you know what hubby does.
The company, the owners, can select anybody they want to do concessions. And if the Bills left, this company could still do them. They do them around the globe. But I will also say, my husband, for 30 years, was a federal prosecutor. He upheld the law. And he was Barack Obama's United States attorney for 8 years in Western New York. We've had to always have a separation between our responsibilities, particularly when I was a member of Congress. I'm proud of his work. His ethics.
Did not answer the question at all. She was like, I'll take that question. Look over there. And then we'll look over there. And how about them Yankees?
Ethics are second to none, as are mine. We know what's important to the people of the state, and that is to continue restoring their faith in government. And that is something I take seriously every single day.
Every day.
Okay.
No answer.
Yeah.
Mr. Williams, do you have a response?
Yeah.
Now, no, she didn't answer. And then the two mannequins up front didn't bother saying answer. They went, that's no answer. Okay. Next question. The two mannequins up front didn't say anything.
Once Congress is where we needed these gun changes to be made.
That has nothing to do with the Buffalo Bills.
No, it is, because Buffalo Bills, we asked for $1 billion to be put in for gun violence prevention. What we got was $1 billion for a billionaire stadium that hired her husband.
Jamani is punching. He's just, he's like, we asked for $1 million to help my Bronx brothers. And what happened? They took $1 billion and gave it to a company that hired her husband. He's not wrong. I'm liking Jamani. He's killing it. This is good stuff. Keep going, Jamani. Beat her up.
Outside of Buffalo, where 25 people were shot in 6 months, and we dealt with some bills that helped 10, which is important. But I want to go back to the money that she said she was put in. It was $18 million. That's not even $1 million per county. We need to have someone that's going to stop the budget to say, we need more money for gun violence prevention, not a billionaire to get a stadium to be built outside of Buffalo where people are suffering.
Mr. Suozzi.
You know, New Yorkers had such high hopes when the governor took office, and she pledged to make it the most ethical, the most transparent government in the history of New York State. And that simply hasn't happened. That's why we see 100%. The Siena poll, how disappointed New Yorkers are. This issue with her husband being the general counsel to Delaware North sells $11 beers to people. It costs you so much to buy a ticket there. And yet, we're asking taxpayers to put up $1 billion to subsidize this stadium. That's the biggest taxpayer giveaway in the history of the NFL. And
yes, thank you. He just validated what I just said. Yes, this is the worst deal in the history of NFL stadiums in the country. The worst. He's like, I got the best deal possible. Your best deal is literally the worst deal ever. And you're proud of that. Why are these people so proud that they suck so badly? They're like, I'm terrible and I'm proud of it. Why? I don't understand this. And he's saying it. So we're going to give them $1 billion and they're going to make us pay $11 for a beer. Tom's not wrong here, right? If I'm going to pay $1 billion, you can give me a beer for $2, right? No, $11 beers, and I still got to pay $1 billion. That's her awesome deal. That's her on a good deal. I don't need you to do any of my deals. I'll take random luck. I'll be better off than you.
Even worse, it was announced 4 days before the budget was due. A budget process that Blair Horner from NYPIRG said was the most secretive budget process he's ever seen in the 30 years he's been in Albany. And they announced it 4 days before the budget was due, and there was no public hearing whatsoever.
Governor, did you want to respond?
I structured a deal that was the best we could do for the taxpayers of New York, and here's what we accomplished. That stadium will be more than paid for. The tax revenues derived from the income as well as the economic benefit. We did a study in advance. It'll far exceed the investment of the state.
Yeah, but see what you're missing here is the money that's coming in is from people buying stuff, right? So people buying stuff are usually New Yorkers. There are some people come from Pennsylvania and such in Canada. It does happen, but most are Western New Yorkers who go there and buy stuff. So they spend their money, and the tax from the money they're spending goes back to New York State, right? Well, that sounds great, but they put $1 billion in. So they got to go ahead and spend a bunch of their own money to get the $1 billion of taxes back from, yeah. If you could take it over 30 years, sure. But we're not going to get any money for at least 10 years. But what are we going to get? Hubby gets a job, but more importantly, she gets to choose who builds what. She controls the jobs. That's why she wants taxpayer money, because she controls taxpayer money. She will decide what unions get selected, what companies get selected. She will be able to hand out jobs, keeping her patrons happy. That is why she wanted it.
We also create 10,000 new jobs, critically important in an area like West.
Thank you. You create them. The problem is you decide who gets them, which makes you powerful. So you can punish people who don't give you money and reward people who do. That's why this is so important for her.
Western New York. But also, I understand people questioning this. I really do. I represent a very large, diverse state. Every part of the state has regional priorities.
So why am I in New York City paying for a Buffalo Bills stadium? What she just said makes no sense. Why am I in New York? I don't want Buffalo paying for the Yankee Stadium. I would happily pay for Yankee Stadium. I go there. I will happily pay. But that's my choice. I like my Yankees. I want to pay. I'm good. I'm not complaining about Yankee Stadium. But in fact, Yankee Stadium is so good, they pay for their own stuff half the damn time because they're so wealthy. But it's fine. I will pay. I don't have a problem with that. I'm not complaining about that one. I'm complaining about Buffalo. Regional.
The Buffalo Bills is to the identity of Western New York the way Broadway is to New York City. It's part of who they are. And I made sure that they're going to stay there for the next 30 years. And I will also continue to direct.
Okay, what happens if the Buffalo Bills 10 years from now say we're out? We're going to leave. We don't want to stay. Cleveland is giving us a better deal. Whatever. Austin's giving us a better deal. We're going to go someplace else. We're going to become the Austin Bills or the Cleveland Bills or whatever. We're going to go off and become the Iowa Bills. Whatever we're going to go do. What are you going to do? Nothing. You're not going to sue them. The state never does. It never happens. They'll say, well, we'll throw you a couple $1 million and we'll leave. That's what's going to happen. You think they're going to stay for 30 years. You don't know if they're going to stay for 30 years. And what happens if they ask for more in 10 years? You'll give it to them because that's what you do. You'll have a new thing. You'll give them a new stadium. Of course you will.
The regional priorities of the rest of the state. I'm
Okay.
doing that
There's
now.
just some
Thank you.
We're gonna
We
move
need to
on.
move on. We need to
There was
move
some
on.
untrue
We're gonna move
Thank
on.
you all. We need to move on. Our next question here now is from our debate partners. This is from Steve Burns of
Okay.
News Radio 880.
This is going to be an important question. It's from Steve Burns.
Given that the legislature has approved 3 casino licenses for downstate New York, should one be built in Manhattan, and why or why not?
Now, the legislature has approved for 3 casino licenses. Question number 1. Why the hell does the legislature decide where a casino goes? Why is that even a thing? Why is that a thing? How about we just let the local people decide what they want in their areas? If they want a casino, build a casino. If they don't, don't. Just have a local board that is elected locally, responsible to people locally, and if they start running over people, the state will come in and help the local people and defend their rights. That sounds like a great plan. Do we have that in New York? No. What we have is our assembly says casino goes there. People go, I don't want one there. Too bad. Other people go, we like one over here. Too bad. We decide where it goes. That's New York State. Well, what if you want a casino in your area? You're like, look, I need jobs. I'm happy to have a casino. We want to work here. Let's do this. No. The assembly didn't say yes. And what if you go, I don't want one in my area. We're good. We don't want a casino. Too bad. That's how my system works. This question is embarrassing that we have this question. The state decides where stuff goes.
Casino in Manhattan. We're going to start with you, Mr. Williams.
So first, I do have to talk about, because every economist says that a stadium does not bring a return.
Thank you.
And gun violence is not just regional, it is through this entire state.
Yep.
As at the moment, I do want to look at where we'd put any casinos. I am concerned about trying to get folks who are already having problems with paying their bills to go to casinos. So I'm not opposed to it. I do.
Now, this is a valid point, right? He is worried, and this is because he knows that a lot of people in certain areas, this is a true thing. In certain areas, if you put a casino in certain areas, you're going to encourage local people to go there and throw all their money away. And that's what he's worried. He's worried about his neighborhood, which makes sense, right? Which is my whole point. He is worried about them shoving a casino in a poor neighborhood, which is what we do. Because they don't want it. The rich people give money to the politicians. The poor people don't because they're poor. So we shove a casino in the poor area and the poor people pay the price. And they go, well, it's jobs. No. Guys like Jumaane are actually in the neighborhood. They should be talking to people and deciding if they're okay with it. Again, if you're okay with a casino in your neighborhood, in your area, please put one in. If you don't, you shouldn't have one. His concept is correct in this one.
We need to look more at it, and I'm not sure that Manhattan would be a place to build.
Mr. Swazi.
Wow, he said, I'm not sure. All right, get some.
It's appropriate that you're asking a casino question, because in the previous question, the governor talked about how she would fund the Buffalo Bills Stadium. And when she first announced the funding of the Buffalo Bills Stadium, she said $450 million would come from the Seneca Nation. The Seneca Nation has a casino that had a dispute with the state for years. And she strong-armed the Seneca Nation to pay $450 million right before the Buffalo Bills deal was announced. Surprise, surprise. Who's the main competitor with the Seneca casinos? Delaware North, the same company that has the concessions for the Buffalo Bills, the same company that her husband is the general counsel for.
But how do you stand on a Manhattan casino?
As far as the Manhattan casino goes, I'm not opposed to it, but I'd rather have some public hearings, find out what the people have to say locally, as well as the state legislature to have public.
Wow. Okay, both of these guys got a good look on this one. All right, look, Tom, I'm going to give you that. That's the right answer. The right answer is let the local people decide if they want the casino or not. That is absolutely the right answer. If the local people think they should have a casino, give them one. They don't want it? No, I completely agree. Wow, 2 of them are right. Only Hochul's wrong on this one. Not bad.
Hearings on the location.
Ms. Hochul, let's start with the casino.
Which casino?
Should there be a casino in Manhattan?
I took the steps to make sure that we could have the option to consider 3 casinos in addition to the 7 that have already been approved. We believe it's going to create jobs, fill our hotels, help our convention economy, which is so important. They were hit so hard during the pandemic. So this is going to be an opportunity for us.
You hit them.
I'm not going to put my finger on the scale and say where I want this to go, because
I'm not going to put my finger on the scale. Buffalo Bills, I will. This one, no.
I want to get the outside experts, the people who are charged with this.
She says the outside experts. No. She's going to make a commission. This is where the commissions pop up. She'll make a commission. She'll choose who will be on the commission. It'll be casino people or a husband's company on the commission. I'm not joking. That's what will happen. It'll either be some casino people or her husband's company will be on the commission. They'll decide what they want. They won't care about local people, and they'll decide yes or no.
To make the decision,
That'll
we'll
happen.
do the analysis at existing sites. There's some in Queens, there's some in Westchester, there's some in Nassau, as well as Manhattan. So as governor, it's my responsibility to be open-minded to all these options right now.
No, she's the only one who didn't say local people. What she said was the outside experts. They'll figure it out. They'll say where to go.
Now, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to this next question here. Mr. Suozzi, many people are unwilling to return to their offices these days. A study by the Partnership for New York City found that just 8% of the people are back 5 days a week, and average weekdays show that 38% of the people who work in the central business district of the city are actually here. Given those...
Now, I want to be clear on this. I warned you all of this 2 years ago. I literally said the city's not going to come back to the way it was. It's just not. People are changing how they're going to work. It's just not going to come back. And yes, here's the data. It's there. It's not coming back. It's not how it works. New York City is not going to be the way it was. We are losing people left and right. We're going to keep losing more.
Low numbers. Does enacting congestion pricing right now in the next few months, does that make sense, or should it be postponed in the interest?
See, this I love. Congestion pricing is coming. Does that make sense, or should it be postponed? Not does congestion pricing make sense? Of course it does. Duh. Anytime I want to punish the middle class, that's a good idea in New York State. So of course I want to punish the middle class. The question is, do I punish them now or next year? That's what he just asked.
Of economic recovery.
It should be postponed for at least a year.
It should be postponed forever.
I'm a big supporter of congestion pricing. I actually talked about it back in 2006 before Mayor Bloomberg even talked about it. I support congestion pricing, but not now in the middle of this financial crisis we're facing. And why are people not coming back to New York? They're not coming back to New York to their offices because they're afraid. They're afraid to take the subways. People are scared. Well, I just saw in the news tonight of a man throwing a woman onto the train tracks. It's
yes. This wild, wild west scenario that the mannequins up front talked about is today. They are literally throwing people onto the train tracks in New York City. Well, what if they have guns? Give them guns. That guy might have got shot instead of throwing somebody on a train station.
Terrifying. 91% of New Yorkers say that crime is a serious or a very serious issue. 74% say they're afraid they're going to be the victim of a violent crime. We saw the cops getting killed. We saw this 11-year-old girl getting shot.
Yes. I mean, this is a point I got to bring up. Cops are being killed now in New York City. Prior to 2020, that was a rarity. In fact, prior to 2020, you were more likely, if you were a cop, to be shot by another cop by mistake. I'm not joking. That is how rare it was for cops to be shot before 2020. Those days are over. Cops get shot now in New York City. Cops get killed in New York City now. That's what it is now. It all happened in 2020. Huh. What happened in 20? Oh, right. Those dumb lockdowns you guys put in place. Yeah. But who's talking about lockdowns? Not one question on that.
We saw this Mr. Enriquez getting shot on his way to work on a Sunday morning. I was with a bunch of mothers the other day who all lost their kids to crime and gun violence. Bodegas are getting robbed on a regular basis. Crime is the #1 issue that we face in the state right now, and I have a 15-point plan to address it. Not just bail reform, but addressing mental health and helping our schools and helping kids.
Ms. Hochul, that's good. Congestion pricing, should it happen now or later?
Got a plan, something.
I support congestion pricing.
Of course you do.
But we've been in negotiations with the federal government that has the say on the next step, and they have now put some other, I would call them.
The federal government has the say. How broken is our system that you can't do, not that you should do congestion pricing. It's a terrible idea. However, the federal government decides whether New York City does congestion pricing. Wow, that's terrible.
Hurdles in the way that we have to overcome. So this is not going to happen over the next year under any circumstances, but now is not the right time. We are working very hard.
Once we're on our way working up, then punish congestion pricing.
So we're trying to
Someone just asked, what's congestion pricing? What congestion pricing is, you charge people to go to certain parts of the city, to pay extra, right? They get some kind of fine or fee if you go in a certain parts of the city. That's what you do. So you encourage people to not go into the city. So you have a crappy subway system where people are literally being killed on a weekly basis. Let me say it again. Literally, I'm not making this, no hyperbole. They are literally being killed on a weekly basis in the subway system. So you have that, or you pay extra money to come into the city. That's their brilliant plan. Congestion pricing. Use
a service, trying to sell a product in a sense. And so we actually found more ways to have Metro cards that give people bigger discounts.
See, let's not make that. Look, what you want is a discounted price when you get murdered in a subway, right? So I don't want to get murdered, pay $225. I'll pay like $175, then I'll get murdered. She literally said with a straight face. See, we're not going to make it safe. We're just going to make it cheaper. This way, you'll be lulled into, it's only $1 to get killed. Way better.
A single day, they use it over the course of a week or a month. So we're focused on doing everything we can to encourage people to come back. But this is the post-pandemic world. We're not going to see many people come back 5 days a week. So I'm saying, and what I did today was talk about office conversions to residential. Today I signed a bill that allows for hotel conversions to residential.
Listen to what she just said. Doesn't this blow your mind? Today I signed a bill allowing hotel conversion to residential conversion. Why do you have to sign a bill for that? I want you to think about what she's saying. So if I have a hotel, I can't just sell it and turn it into something else. I can't just have construction and say the hotel doesn't work anymore. I'll make it into residential. No. You have to get permission from New York State to use your own property to turn it into residential. Wow. This is the police state we live in. And we go, we're in a free country.
I want more people who work here to be able to live in this city. And that has not been the case for a long time because of the affordability crisis, something that we're...
Yes, and you guys have been working on that affordability crisis for 10 years, all three of you, and it only gotten worse because you all suck at what you do. That would be the reason. We've been working on this for 10 years, and it's been getting worse. So you suck.
Leaning hard into and beginning to solve.
Governor Hochul, if I could just interrupt for a second, could you tell us how long congestion pricing is going to be delayed in New York?
I don't have the answer. We're in conversations with the federal government. They just asked us to deal with an additional environmental issue. So I don't think it's going to be before the end of this year. I'm rather certain of that. So we're asking them for a time frame, but we are on a path.
The federal government has to write environmental issues now for this.
And now we have to address their concerns and their flags that they've raised. So we're committed to getting it done.
Mr. Williams,
I'm sure stupid.
Congestion pricing now or delay it?
So first, the answer is we should do it now. It's something I've been supporting for a very long time, and it's important not only because of the climate, but because of the revenue we need to deal with so many issues. The reason people
see, while he's totally wrong, at least he's forward. He goes, we need the cash. Look, at least you're honest. He's completely wrong. Congestion pricing is a bad idea, but at least he's honest. He's like, hey, we need cash, so let's make the middle class pay.
People are not going back to work primarily is because we keep trying to go back to a normal that harmed New Yorkers. And so just like I led when it came to making the streets safe, when we went from 2012, where gun violence was out of control, to 2018 pre-pandemic, we're leading by example.
Pre-pandemic.
What we have to do is have a hybrid remote option so people can travel back and forth to work and keep that economy going, but also realizing that they can have a better work-life balance and also help the economy around where they live. These are the things that workers are asking for. These are the things that New Yorkers are asking for. And we need a governor who's going to lead by example. I'm that governor.
Thank you.
Next question is to you, Governor Hochul. You've made a commitment to provide state emergency funds to pay for the abortions of people who come here from other states. Some question...
Yeah. Look, I don't know whatever you might be thinking about abortion. I'm sure some of you are pro-life, some of you are pro-choice, some of you in the middle. Okay. But are you really for the governor creating a fund that will have taxpayer money pay for people from other states to come to New York to get abortions? Whether you're pro-life, pro-choice, in the middle, Are you like, yeah, that's a great idea. Taxpayers should put together a fund so that people can come to New York to get abortions and we'll pay for them. I can't see how, regardless of where you are on the spectrum, that you would think that's a good idea. I think that's a terrible idea.
Why New York State taxpayers should foot the bill to provide abortions to out-of-state residents. Why should New Yorkers do that when taxes in our state are already among the highest in the—
Yes, but her reason is just because taxes are high. So if taxes were low, it would be okay? No, it is not okay for New Yorkers to pay taxes for other people to come to New York and get abortions. That's not okay, whether you are pro-choice or not. That doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter how high the tax rate is. It's a bad idea, period.
The nation.
We have put forth a plan in response to what we anticipate will be one of the most egregious Supreme Court decisions in the history of our nation.
Okay, even if that's true, that doesn't make it okay.
They've already telegraphed that they plan to overturn Roe v. Wade, something that was the fight of my mother's generation, and I sure didn't think it would have to be the fight of my new granddaughter's
Didn't answer
generation.
the question, that's all.
New York is going to stand firm in protecting women's rights here. The money we allocated from a fund in our Department of Health.
Oh, it was allocated from a fund in the Department of Health. That makes it okay. No, it's going to be more taxes.
To ramp up the services for New Yorkers, to make sure that we have services available for hire more people, to expand their space. We do anticipate people be coming, but we're not using taxpayer dollars to bring people here. That was an idea that was—
Yeah, to bring people here. Note what she said, but they're going to pay for the abortion. They are. They're not going to pay for your plane ticket or your bus ticket. See? Way better. They're just going to say, we got extra cash. Come on, Bob. We're going to pay for it. I can't.
Proposed in the legislature. We're simply helping our existing providers be ready.
We're helping our providers. So we're paying our providers to do those abortions. We're paying for the abortion. She dodged and jumped and did ID politics and then said, yeah, we're basically paying for the abortions. But we're not going to pay for the bus ticket. See? So it's fine.
We already have people from Ohio traveling to Western New York to get services now because their laws are already more restrictive. So we need to be ready for them. But my job is to make sure that New York women are not denied these services.
So her job is to make sure New York State women are. Her job is whatever she says it is. I don't know where that's in her thing. This is her back to being a bus driver, teaching us how to swim. Now this is like, my job is not only teaching you how to swim, but also you're all going to learn Chinese. That's my number one job. No. No.
As a woman, I take very seriously.
Mr. Williams.
We, of course, have to make sure that women and pregnant people have an ability to have safe, accessible, and a legal abortion.
Now, he went right there. He went women and pregnant people. Now, see, that's some left stuff. He was good. That was his whistle to the people, saying, see, my far lefties, I'm with you.
That is our job, to make sure that we protect New Yorkers. We also have to lead, because the nation, as was mentioned, is going in the wrong direction. And so we have to use those funds to protect all people who need that service.
See, he's 100% wrong on this one again. I like it. Wrong. No. Just because you think women should be able to get abortions, and I agree, women should be able to get abortions. I agree. Doesn't mean other people should be paying for it, particularly taxpayer. Look, let's be clear. There are enough New Yorkers. There are enough New Yorkers who care about this issue enough, who would absolutely donate money to help women have abortions. They would do that, right? We know this to be true. So if you want to do anything, just go. If you want to set up a nonprofit, go ahead, do your thing. Why in the hell are people who are 100% against abortion, why do their taxpayer dollars have to pay for an abortion? It's unethical. It's unethical. No, he's wrong. No.
I'm disappointed that there were two women in the legislature, women of more color, that had two bills that moved us further along reproductive justice.
I never heard that one before.
It was the Equality Amendment, and it was an equity fund. Unfortunately, those two things weren't passed. Those were the best ways to protect Black and brown women and pregnant people. We couldn't get that across.
Black and brown women and pregnant people. Man, that is that's right. That's right in. You are right there in the woke sphere. Well done. Well done. No one else was able to say those words. That's well done right there. He knows, and he said it smoothly. Like, that's how he talks. He's right there.
When I'm governor, I'll make sure we do, so that the New Yorkers who need the most help, Americans who need the most help, we're the ones we protect.
Mr. Swazi.
Abortion must remain safe, legal, and accessible, and New York should be a leader for the rest of the country on this issue.
Come on.
I don't think there's any daylight between the three of us on this particular issue.
Uh-oh.
I think that we should also be a leader here in New York State to try and prevent unintended pregnancies by educating.
Oh, okay. So he dodged the question. The other two were like, yeah, we're paying for abortions. Jumani's like, all in. We're paying for abortions for men, women, people, everybody. We're paying for all the abortions. Jumani was on that. He's all the way. We're paying for all of them. They can come here. We'll give them hotels. Hochul's like, well, we won't pay for the bus ticket, but we'll pay for it, but it's not the bus ticket. But we'll pay for them. Tom's like, let me do a song and dance. I don't know if I don't want to play that game. He's song and dancing. I'd rather him song and dance.
Educating people and by providing contraception so that we can prevent unintended pregnancies from happening. The governor had a commercial out recently where she made the topic abortion, and she said she was going to fight to get a constitutional amendment here in New York State.
She did say that.
But she didn't put her weight behind it, and it didn't pass through the legislature during the legislative session, even though she was running a commercial saying that she would make a constitutional amendment as part of this legislative session. So when the governor puts her mind to something like the Buffalo Bills, she gets it done. When it comes to bail reform, mayoral control, the other things she doesn't get done.
Buffalo.
You know, talk about daylight. There's so much bright daylight between our positions that I need to find a pair of sunglasses. I will tell you that I don't think that the right to have an abortion should be reserved only for wealthy women. That is why I don't know how.
That's why I'm going to pay for people who coming out of. See, he dodged. He was like, I don't want to go down this paying for other people's abortion thing. Tom, well done. I've been beating you up today, but that's the right move. Okay. I give credit where credit is due. Tom's right in this one. Good for him. The other two people, I don't know what they're talking about.
You think you can hide from your vote on the Hyde Amendment to support denying Medicaid services and funding for poor women and leave it just for wealthy people in neighborhoods where others have grown up. So I believe that New York is going to continue to lead. I know we're going to continue to lead on this, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it as the first woman.
See, it's funny. She just talked about it a little bit. Then when Jumani jumped on board, when she was like, you know what, we'll do it, but not with the this and the that. Jumani was like, no, paying for them all, everybody, men, women, I don't care. Come on in, everybody coming in. When Jumani said that, she's like, oh, wait a minute. He's gonna outwoke me. Wait a minute. So I got to jump on board now and say, you know, how I'm doing all this stuff now.
So I believe that New York is going to continue to lead. I know we're going to continue to lead on this, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it as the first woman governor of this state.
ID politics, well done. See, Jumani played that game. She's like, oh, no, I can play ID politics too. I'm the first woman governor. Take that, Jumani.
To say, I'm bringing my values to bear right now and to send a message around this nation that New York will protect its women. We welcome others to come to our state, and we pray the Supreme Court will all of a sudden get a conscience and not be so politicized that they would take away a right that we have held dear to our hearts for decades.
A brief response, Mr.
Let me just say very clearly, I have a 100% rating from Planned Parenthood. My vote.
Oh, now he's like, no, you can't outwoke me. No. I got to Jumani did good. Jumani was like, I'm the wokest. Done. All in. And I'm using like the pregnant people thing. I'm doing everything. And she was like, whoa, okay, wait, I'm woke. And he's like, no, me too. Are
exactly the same in Congress as Nancy Pelosi and Rosa DeLauro, and I don't know what the governor's talking about.
Next topic.
Not a good
Thank
thing.
you. With marijuana now legal, Mr. Swazi, what are you going to do to protect those adults and children who don't want to be exposed to and forced to inhale marijuana smoke?
Whoa, hold on. I love the way he's got asked. First was the Wild Wild West. Now marijuana. Now it's legal. How are you going to stop kids from being forced to inhale marijuana? That's what he just said, being forced. Like, I'm going to grab my kid and blow it in their face or something. I don't know. I guess I'm going to do that. Yes.
Yeah, this is a real challenge that we face. I face it when I'm walking in the streets of the city as well as everybody else does. You always smell people smoking pot.
You
when you're
smell
walking down
weed
the streets
sometimes.
these days.
It's true. And you don't die from it at all.
75% of the people in jail have a drug, alcohol, or mental health problem.
Okay.
We have to recognize the fact that marijuana needs to also be, when it's decriminalized and regulated, we have to make sure that people don't use it as a gateway into other drugs in the future.
You're a Democrat. That's Republican stuff. Don't say that stupidity. Don't say that, Tom. Sometimes you were good last one, and now you blew it again. What are you doing? Marijuana's a gateway drug. Marijuana is an exit drug. It's not a gateway drug. Cannabis gets you out of hard drugs. It doesn't get you in. You know what gets in hard drugs? Pharma. Pharma gets you in. That's the issue. Pharma gets you in. Regular opioids from like back pain, that gets you in. Not weed. Completely full of crap. He's just trying to dodge the question.
How do you prevent people getting it secondhand when they don't want it?
It's very important as far as education, and it's very important as far as people can only smoke in legal locations. So you shouldn't be able to smoke out in the open air.
You can't smoke out in the open air. Did he just say that stupidity? You got to smoke in little stables. Shut up. How are you going to stop people? You know what you do if you smell weed? You walk away. Like if someone's smoking outside, you just walk away. It's not poison. Weed smoke is not poison. This is a stupid question. And the first question was stupid, and this one is stupid. Why would you even ask a dumb question like that?
The same as you're not allowed to drink out in the open air.
Ms. Hochul?
I'd like to address the whole concept behind the cannabis industry, and we'll get to the specific question. I'm very proud that I was able to take steps literally weeks.
You're proud of everything, and New York State's a disaster. You're the only person that was like, I'm proud that my team is terrible. I'm proud my state sucks. I'm so proud. Why are you proud of this garbage pile that you are making sure is more garbagey? I don't know why you're proud of this.
Within the time frame of becoming governor, to open up an industry that we believe is going to be beneficial for taxpayers, farmers, but also to help the communities that have been targeted for decades. The mass.
Utterly a lie. Utterly a lie. This is a blatant lie, and the two mannequins up front are not going to even question her. How are farmers going to benefit from this when what's actually happening is big real estate is buying up all the land? How is that going to help a farmer who can't afford $250,000 for a license? Why don't you ask the California farmers how it helped them out? It didn't. It didn't. They still have a black market. So does Colorado. And you followed that model. You thought black market, that's a good idea. You're an embarrassment. It's completely wrong. Utterly, she's lying. It's only going to help out big business.
Incarceration that resulted because of disproportionate arrest of young people. We have now, in black and brown communities, we have worked hard.
Sorry, had to do. She almost forgot ID politics. Almost forgot.
Hard to make sure that the licenses and the opportunities to economic benefit go to those targeted communities. But what you're talking about is important to me. I'm working with our Commissioner of Health to put together a PSA right now to talk about how we have to respect each other's space to understand.
Because that'll work, right? You'll just do a PSA about respecting. Done deal. I got to tell you, of all of her terrible plans, that's the best one. Because that one doesn't hurt anybody. Of all of her terrible plans, that's the best one. We'll take some money and we'll do a PSA, a public service announcement. That's a PSA. If those don't may not know that. Of all her terrible ideas, that's the best one. Why don't you stop all these other terrible laws and just make some more PSAs? I will. If you do that, I will shut my mouth. Just do PSAs.
Understand that people do not want to be inhaling, whether it's cigarette smoke or marijuana smoke. No one should have to be exposed to that. So we're working on that right now with our Commissioner of Health and individuals focused on this.
Mr. Williams, how do you prevent that?
It is important, I'd say, if we're talking about black and brown communities, that's where I'm from. And so I understand those same communities that have been abused by drug laws that
abused by drug laws. There's a little bit libertarian in him, a little bit. There's a whole lot of left in him, but there's a streak of libertarianism. There we go. We got a little bit.
Made things illegal that are now going to be legal. We have to make sure that we right that. As was mentioned, same places where you shouldn't drink, you shouldn't smoke marijuana. But we have to make sure we push this forward because it is a social justice issue. Those same communities, by the way, and I have to say this, sorry, not sorry, are dealing with gun violence. And I have to bring up the stadium because those 100 jobs will not go to East Buffalo because they have no cars or no transportation to go there. I'm saying that because East Buffalo, I spoke to those folks, have been a transit desert, have been a food desert, something that the governor brought up when the mass shooting happened. The question I have is, when do we do something about it? If that is how you would treat your neighbors.
Well, he dodged the question because he knows it doesn't matter, right? The question's a stupid question. I don't like him dodging a question, but I get why he did. It's a dumb question. How people are going to have to smell weed in New York? Oh, well, walk away. Wow. It's not poison. You'll be okay.
If that is how you would treat a black community where you live, how are you going to treat Brooklyn, Syracuse, the Bronx, East Flatbush, Schenectady? This is important because these communities are afraid and they need someone who has provided the leadership to deal with the issues that they've been dealing with for far too long.
Mr. Williams, the next question does go to you.
He's got a
I'm
little bit of
wondering if you would
libertarianism,
endorse Bill de Blasio.
That's funny. The others have no libertarianism at all. He's got like a little streak. It's a bunch of leftists and then a little streak of libertarianism. All right.
For congressional race, if he asked you why or why not, and do you think he would make a good congressman?
And again, what another terrible question. The question is, if Bill de Blasio runs for Congress, will you support him? Why does that matter in a gubernatorial race? Another stupid question. And this now is the official debate people here. Would you support him?
I am running for governor. He has not asked me. I don't think he will ask me. So my preference is.
Would he make a good congressman?
I will say I have made my issues with the former mayor when he was mayor. I am probably going to weigh in with.
Here's the funny part, which is why I keep telling you guys. Bill de Blasio was a terrible mayor. And I mean a terrible mayor. I think worse than Dinkins. And Dinkins was a bad mayor. De Blasio was the worst mayor. Now, I'm not an Adams fan, but if I have Eric Adams or de Blasio, I take Eric Adams. I take Jumaane Williams. I literally will take anybody over. I would take Cuomo as mayor over de Blasio. De Blasio was a terrible, and I mean a horrible mayor. He destroyed this city, and here's the best part about de Blasio. He thinks he's awesome. Like, everybody hates him, and he thinks he's awesome still. That guy lives with his head so far up his derriere, I don't think he can see daylight. That guy really thinks he's running for Congress. And these three people, they don't want to support him because he was terrible. He is a horrible, horrible mayor. The worst I've seen in New York. Worse than Dinkins. Name a mayor, they're better than de Blasio. And if I had a choice of de Blasio or any mayor, I take that mayor. That's how bad de Blasio was.
That race, so I don't want to tip my hand. But those concerns are still there. I do think.
Come on, tip your hand right here.
Oh, I can't tip my hand.
Oh, you can. It's the question. You're supposed to answer it.
Yes, what I'm doing now is trying to make sure that New Yorkers have housing, have food, have public safety.
Good dodge. It's a stupid question. He was polite. I would have said it's a dumb question. I would have just said, wow, you mannequins are terrible. This is the question you asked me. Literally, I have 1,000 New Yorkers leaving my state every day. 1,000 leaving my state every day, and you're worried about, well, what about de Blasio? Who cares?
Economy that works for them. And so when we endorse in that district, we'll be happy to answer that question.
Mr. Suozzi?
I'm not going to endorse Bill de Blasio for Congress.
Why not?
I don't think he's the best person for the job.
That's a great question. Should have stopped. He's not the best person for the job. Move on. But do you think the mannequins up front will move on? No, because they want to fight, blood sport.
But you have some experience in Congress. Don't you think he could make some kind of a contribution?
You know, I'm very concerned about what's happening in our politics in the United States of America today, where everybody's just battling with each other all the time.
Yeah.
We have the far right, we have the far left, and people just fight with each other and instead of trying to get things done. I'm a common sense Democrat. I'm not going to pander to the left. I'm not going to back down to the right. And I'm looking for other common sense Democrats.
That's actually a good slogan. I think that's a good Democrat slogan. Hold on. What did he say again? What what do you say, pander to the left, what?
You know, I'm very concerned about what's happening in our
slogan.
politics in the United States of America today, where everybody's just battling with each other all the time. We have the far right, we have the far left, and people just fight with each other and instead of trying to get things done. I'm a common sense Democrat. I'm not going to pander to the left. I'm not going to back down to the right.
Ooh, that's a. If you're a Democrat watching, steal that. That's a good one. Look, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not voting for the guy. But I'm just saying, as Democrats go, that's a good one. Not going to pander to the left or back down. I like that. That's hardcore. Keep that.
And I'm looking for other common sense Democrats to run for Congress, because we need to have a different conversation in our country.
So are you saying Bill de Blasio is not a common sense Democrat?
No, I don't. I think that he sometimes goes too far to the Democratic orthodoxy instead of trying to work across party lines to get things done on behalf of the people.
Governor?
Not wrong.
I'll be weighing in the general election in these races because I'm going to be using my name, my reputation, my resources to help elect Democrats to Congress all over the state of New York.
Resources. She does have $20 million. So the resources count. The rest is not important.
In November, because there's so much on the line. We have not only the Supreme Court against us, but we have so many issues like money we're waiting for childcare to come for us. But if you
money we're waiting for childcare to come from us. If you notice, I always hammer her on one important thing. I hammer on a lot of things, but the number one thing I always do is all she ever does for any problem is throw money at it. So she's like, well, they got to give us money for childcare. They have to give us money for this. Give us. What happens when Uncle Joe stops writing checks? She has no answer for this. At one point, Uncle Joe stops writing checks. Whenever that happens, New York State's in trouble.
If Bill de Blasio was the nominee in that district, would you endorse him, or would you just withhold your endorsement because you might have reservations about him?
Why don't you stop asking stupid questions?
I'm
How
not
about
getting
that?
involved in primaries.
Thank you.
Next question is for you, Ms. Hochul. Should mentally ill people living on the streets and subways be removed against their will and held involuntarily until they get the humane treatment that they need?
What we did the first week Eric Adams was sworn into office, I went with him into the subway and announced that we're working in partnership. And let me put an emphasis on that. First time in a decade that a mayor and a governor have actually worked together toward solving a common problem.
Didn't answer the question at all.
And we talked about how we can pull his resources, our resources, to have these support teams.
The answer is you don't remove someone forcefully unless they're going to harm somebody else. If you think someone's going to harm somebody, remove them. Yes, you don't want people harming others. Yeah, of course. If they're not harming, why would you forcibly remove them? Instead, as I talked about, you create the caring caboose, a place for them to go, and you make it easier for them to go to shelters. We don't do either of those two things. They have no place to go. If you make it easier to go to these two places, most people will go to those two places. If they don't and they're trying to harm someone, yes, remove them forcibly. If they're going to, they're literally, again, they are literally killing people every week on the subway. Yes, remove them because they are murdering people. Yes, this is not a hard question.
One person yanking you off the street, throwing you in a shelter, and you're back again. That's it.
Yeah, no. Only if they're going to hurt somebody. Not just because they're there, right? Not just because they're there, right? You could have a problem, beat it. I got it. But if you're going to hurt somebody, yes.
Inhumane, and it doesn't work. So we're working together to have mental health experts, social work, and people who can help find them housing to go into where they can actually get supportive services that are long-term.
But you can't do it because all of your systems require too much paperwork and detail and bureaucracy. And the people who need the most help, they can't handle that because they need help. They have either mental problems or they have addiction problems, and the paperwork and bureaucracy you require every day, literally daily, they cannot handle. So don't do it. Instead of the private sector to do this, help the private sector, allow them to do it. They don't require the bureaucracy that you require because it's not taxpayer dollars. They will do better. It's been proven throughout the Bronx and in Brooklyn, it's been proven. And then add the caring caboose, which they can link up together, and now you'll solve this problem. Her idea is a bad idea. It will not work.
Just the bill I signed today will create hundreds of more, perhaps thousands more units.
The thrust of what I'm getting at is, should they be removed against their will and be given humane treatment that they need?
It depends on the severity of the illness. if they're demonstrating that they could cause harm to themselves or others, it
right
takes
here.
it to a different standard.
This is true. She's right. If it looks like they're swinging around, grabbing stuff, and very often you'll see agitated, right, behavior before. Not always, but you'll often see that. If you see that and you're a cop, yes, they cannot be murdering people in the subways, and that's happening now.
One of the reforms we did in our budget as part of our comprehensive package to address public safety was to deal with Kendra's law and also to talk about the rights we have to protect ourselves as a society as well.
You don't have the right to protect yourself because you don't give us guns.
I believe in that.
So no, you don't
Respecting
believe that. It's a
individual
lie.
rights, getting them services.
Blatant lie.
But if someone has demonstrated they could cause harm to others, then we have a responsibility to help that person get services and protect other riders.
But you've got to make it easy for people to do it on their own. That's the key issue. Why in the world people say, why don't they go to shelters? Because they are mentally ill or they have an addiction problem and they cannot handle the bureaucracy required to do that. That's the reason. It's that simple, right? The working poor who are homeless are more apt to be able to go to a shelter. Even they don't like it, but they're more apt to, because if you're just working poor, you tend not to have addiction problems. You tend not to be have mental problems, so you can handle the bureaucracy a whole lot better. If you're a family of working poor, then at least one of you usually can handle the bureaucracy, so it's easier if you're working poor. If you're not working poor and you either have addiction or mental problems, this is a bear. That's why those are the ones who keep falling through the cracks.
Wherever situation they're in.
That's your standard, not just that they're mentally ill. Mr. Williams?
Can you please repeat the question?
Should mentally ill people living on the streets and subways be removed against their will and held involuntarily until they get the treatment that they need?
First, I do want to say I found it interesting that there'd be no endorsement in the primary. The Democratic committee has already endorsed, and I really wish the governor would say the same thing to the state committee, so there'd be no endorsement during this primary.
Now, again, a punch, because you guys don't know. The New York State party already endorsed Kathy Hochul. They already endorsed her. In fact, these guys, there was going to be no primary. She actually won everything. Both of these guys had to get signatures. They had to get 10 to 15,000 signatures each so they could actually be in the primary. They forced the primary. The Democratic Party didn't even want a primary. The Democratic Party was like, nope, one person, go. They did not even want a primary. He's right.
What I would say is most people who are mentally ill are not violent. What they need is a continuum of care. One of my first reports I put out as one of the city...
the idea of a continuum of care, he's right again. His diagnosis is on the money. His solutions, yeah, not. But his diagnosis, yet again, on the money. He is correct.
Citywide elected officials was on mental health, trying to show what we can do to create that continuum of care. I will tell you, in speaking to law enforcement, they don't want to be the ones responding.
Correct.
Who should be
correct. Our cops do enough. We don't need them dealing with this. Again, he's correct. Yes. Cops should be getting bad guys, not dealing with people with mental illness.
Finding the people who are in acute crisis, which I think you're bringing to, are the people who have the most, have peer networks and people who have medical expertise.
But what we're getting at is people who need care.
So, but
should we take them off the street?
But we have to be careful. The last time we allowed this, it went crazy. The question is, we do have to change the law to allow some people to be involuntary, put into a place so they can get assistance. But we have to make sure is that we don't cross that threshold just willy-nilly. And so most people who are in acute mental health crisis actually may not need to be removed involuntarily if they have the right supports there at that moment in time. And so what we've found, if you can get people that are not necessarily police as a first responders, they can, peers who have dealt with this, people who have experience in doing this, can really engage with that person.
This is my whole idea of my facts program for breaking the police up, right? So you can decide, you can reform your police as you see fit, right? You can decide, well, I want more on social workers, or I want more to be on active policing and in bad guys. You can mix and match because it's a social worker aspect that should be there so that you can have a cop nearby while the social workers do their job. If this guy or gal is violent, you got the cop there to put them on the ground if they have to, or as he says, the social workers see if they can do their magic, right? Deal with the issues, handle them. He's exactly correct in this one.
So they're not needed to be forcibly removed. What we keep doing is mixing the worst case scenarios with most scenarios that don't happen. And again, that's why having someone who's dealt with these issues for the past decade and has put forth plans, some of which have helped us get to where we were pre-pandemic, is the type of person that you need for governor of the state of New York.
That's right.
You know, I'm very passionate about this issue. When I lived in Manhattan from 1984 to 1991, when I was in law school, I used to supervise, sleep overnight at a homeless shelter. It was such a big problem back in the 80s. And we see it coming back again.
100%.
There are 18.5 million people in New York State. Of those 18.5 million people, 1.5 million people have a serious mental health problem, not just anxiety.
Is that right?
Schizophrenia, bipolar, severe depression.
It was so much. It's a lot.
So if somebody's living on the streets and it's 10 degrees out and they have a big sore on their leg and they're muttering to themselves, that person is a danger to themselves and a danger to others.
No, see, he's wrong on this. Just because you're muttering to yourself out in the cold doesn't mean you're a danger to others and yourself. Doesn't mean that by default. Now, do I want to offer that person help? I do. Do I want to make it easy for that person to be able to get into a shelter? I do. But do I want to assume that they are a danger and then forcibly grab them? I don't. There is a line, and I think Jumaane has a very valid point here. Tom is going too far.
And we have to give police and social workers and mental health workers and family members the ability to take those folks off the streets, to get them the humane care that you mentioned, Maurice.
I'm not buying
so that they can take their medication, so they can get the treatment they need. We need a comprehensive plan for mental health. 75% of the people in jail have a drug, alcohol, or mental health problem.
It's true. He's right.
Families are scared to take their kids down the street when somebody who's mentally ill is on the street acting out. We have to address this as a real problem as it is.
Thank you. I have to say, I have
Mr. Williams.
I have Tourette syndrome.
He does.
I remember being on an Amtrak train when I had a particular loud amounts of tics. I was almost removed from that Amtrak by someone who didn't understand what was going on.
Bingo.
Thankfully, I was able to speak and let them know what's going on, and I wasn't removed. And that's the reason I try to take care when I'm answering these questions. Again, these things are not theoretical to me. It's not just things I read about in the paper or see on TV. These are things that I've dealt with, my family's dealt with, my constituents have dealt with. And so I try to make sure that I think about the real answers to these questions.
He's right. Look, just because you got an issue doesn't mean you're violent or going to hurt somebody, right? Doesn't mean that. I don't want you going in there trying to institutionalize people who don't need to be institutionalized, right? If you're trying to hurt somebody or you do, okay, but he's having an episode where he's having a lot of tics. So does it make you uncomfortable? Maybe. Then move away or whatever. Some guy's having tics. He's got an issue. He's not hurting you. He's not trying to beat anybody up. He's got an issue. What are you going to do? Move on.
So we don't tell people in New York that we're going to keep them safe when we're not. They want to be safe. They want to feel safe. And I have great expertise and leadership in doing that.
Mr. Williams, the New York City Council passed a law to allow people with green cards to vote in local elections.
Oh, yes.
Should this be
New York City? You have a green card. You can now vote in a local election.
Extended statewide? People with green cards allowed to vote in elections, local elections, every place in the state.
Let's be
30 seconds. You have 30 seconds.
How do we get to 30 seconds so quick? But,
we're going to the end of the debate.
I want to be clear. Non-citizens have been voting in this country longer than they haven't been. So the city council simply restored a vote,
Terrible
a right
idea. So
that
wrong
was
on this.
already there.
No. Voting's for citizens. No. Look, you guys know I'm pro-immigration. I want us to have a vibrant immigration. I do. I like vibrant immigration. But how can you vote in this country when you're a citizen of another country? You have to vote twice in your own country and here? No. Voting's for citizens. He's 100% wrong on this. No, Jumaane, you are wrong. No. Voting's for citizens.
And of course, in the state, we want to make sure that everyone is civically engaged. And that includes some of our non-citizen residents.
You can be civically engaged without voting. You can be. Many people are. So no. No. Nope.
Who are dealing with the impacts of very bad policy.
Mr. Swazi, 30 seconds.
I don't think the vote should be extended. I'm a very great supporter of immigrants. In 1994, I started the first day worker center anywhere on the East Coast of the United States of America when I was mayor of the city of Glen Cove. When I was county executive in Nassau County, I kicked ICE out of Nassau County. I was the person of the year for the New York Immigration Coalition.
Like that.
I'm a first-generation American. My father was born in Italy. I support immigrants. I support the undocumented, try and help them live the best life they can here in the United States of America. but the right to vote should be reserved for citizens.
Governor,
Yes.
30 seconds.
It's correct.
Specifically on the question, I respect the right of a locality to make that decision as a.
Oh, now you about locality. You about localism now. For this one, you about localism. Everything else, the state decides. But on this one, you all about localism now. Okay, this one you are. Okay. Guns? No. Anything? No. Taxes? No. But this one, you libertarian all of a sudden. Okay. Well, okay, she's libertarian all of a sudden. Okay.
Did in New York
Localism now.
City, but I will not be proposing that it be extended to the entire state. But these are individuals who live among us. They have rights. That is why I worked so hard to make sure that there was over $2 billion in funding for excluded workers that no one had worked on before. We've worked on so many programs to help lift them up and make them feel part of the New York family.
And it
Thank you,
doesn't
Ms. Hochul.
work.
Mr.
asked for that
Swazi.
excluded worker fund to be extended, and we couldn't get it. I
Thank
just want to be
We
clear.
got to move
Thank you.
on.
Mr. Swazi, 30 seconds here. Should there be term limits for all elected state officials, governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, as well as assembly members and state
Yes.
senators?
Yes. And
I don't
yes.
believe that there should be term limits. I think that what we should do is have more people participate in elections to hold elected officials accountable.
You can't do that when you stuff the ballot with only two choices. Maybe I wouldn't, but I maybe could be convinced of this if and only if we actually had a vibrant democracy where it was easy for people to vote, which it relatively is, but not just that, easy to get on the ballot where you have multiple choices, ranked choice voting, open primaries, easy to get on the ballot. If maybe I would buy that, maybe I'd have to see years of results to maybe, but my gut says, what are you, stupid? Why in the world do you say, oh, just have more people vote? That'll stop it. Wow, that's insanely dumb.
We have the most corrupt state in the United States of America.
Yes, we do. Yes.
The past three governors left in scandal, Schneiderman,
And we don't have term limits. Yes.
Hevesi, Skelos, Silver, Bruno, the recent lieutenant governor arrested for bribery and corruption. We need to hold elected officials accountable. If they don't do what the people want, we need to kick them out of office.
It's in the city. City's still standing.
I believe
Term limits.
my experience in Congress is I know a lot more
The city wouldn't be standing because de Blasio might still be mayor. So no, I'm glad we have term
now
limits.
than I did when I joined Congress 5.5 years ago. I know a lot more now after 8 years as mayor and 8 years as county executive. I'm a much more
Yeah, but you had 8 years as mayor, 8 years as county executive. I'm okay with that. That's term limits. Yeah. Yes, you literally just solved your own problem. Yes, I'm okay with you being 8 years this, 8 years that. If the people want you being that, be that. The people want you being that, be that. No worries.
effective, proven executive because of the experience that I have.
Ms. Hochul, term limits statewide?
Yes, I already proposed term limits for statewide officials, but I intentionally left out the Assembly and the Senate because I support the model that we have in Washington.
Why would you support the model that we have in Washington? There is so much. I got to be clear. The opposite is true. If anything, and I'm not saying this, but if anything, let the executives have no term limits. We actually vote executives out here or there. So if anything, there's far more corruption in almost every state, and of nation for sure, at the congressional level than there is at the executive level. Of course there is. Oh, of course there is. This is insane. She's exactly the opposite.
The executive leadership, of which I'm part of today, should have 8 years terms, but then the legislative branch, like Congress, should not have restrictions. So that is what I proposed to the voters.
These guys are insane.
Okay, Mr.
They don't
Williams.
want any term limits.
The experience that was just spoken about has led us here.
Jamani, killing it again. Yes. Yes, all that experience you've been talking about has brought us to this crappy state we have now. Thank you, Jamani. Well done. Every once in a while, you do some good ones. I like that. There we go.
And so just saying we're going to keep the model gives us what we already have. And
Yes.
so I do support term limits for everyone. But I also agree the executive has a different job than the legislature.
That's
so the
true.
legislature should definitely be a longer term than the executive. But what we have here, and New Yorkers in this.
I would actually buy that. I'm not against going, say, 12 years or 10 years for the legislature and 8 years for the governor. I would deal with that. I'm fine with that if he wants to go that level. But we need term limits. I wouldn't fight over the 10 years versus 8, whatever. Just term limits. I'm not going to fight on it.
And they're not feeling good about housing. They're not feeling good about public safety. What we have in Albany has not worked for them.
Correct.
That's why I keep saying we can't return to that old normal. We need a new normal.
He's
and that's
right.
what my governorship will.
We need a new New York. Who says that? That will be me.
Thank you.
Governor Hochul, the next question is for you. Some types of cryptocurrency mining are harmful to the environment. The state legislature has passed a bill pausing the energy-intensive process that Bitcoin and some other currencies.
Yeah, so that was brilliant. The state decided we're going to pause, mining. Why? Because you know what New York needs? More barriers to new industry in New York State. That's what New York needs. How stupid is my assembly? Wow. How stupid is my assembly?
Currencies rely on. Today, you signaled that you might not sign the legislature's bill for another 6 months, which falls after the general election.
Yep.
You've signed other bills, such as the gun control package, within days. The New York Times and Politico have reported that both you and your lieutenant governor candidate, Antonio Delgado, are receiving substantial support from crypto donors.
Wait a minute. So you're getting money from crypto people? That can't be true. Oh, wait, it could be because in New York State, we have a bit license. And some of these heavy hitters like the bit license, because what the bit license does, it makes you pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to actually have a bit license, which keeps all the little guys out. So they would like to keep their monopolies and their cartel in New York State. So they pay her to retain this and to not stop anything until they're ready. Once they're ready, then maybe she'll sign it. Maybe she'll sign it once they're prepared to find the right answer. This is, again, keeping cronies happy. Watch her lie on this.
What can you tell our viewers to assure them that your decision to delay the signing isn't influenced by their support?
I have been a public servant for over 30 years.
You should not be proud of that. You should not be proud of that, right? You might as well say, I have been a colossal failure for 30 years. Like, I have not gotten better at all. I've been just terrible for 30 years, learned nothing. I still suck at my job. Like 30 years at my job, and I still suck. I haven't gotten any better. She might as well say that.
People have supported me. There is no connection between any support I received and decisions, because I'll always do what's in the best interest.
Oh, because she is incorruptible. She just said that. I'm incorruptible. Let me be very clear. Everybody is corruptible, me included. You too. Everybody is corruptible. So please stop that lie.
New Yorkers, and that has not changed. All I was doing was answering a question today to explain that we have over 800 bills that were passed. And this bill came up at the very end of session. Bills. We didn't have a chance to have our legislative.
God, the state's collapsing, and they decided to pass 800 bills. Wow.
Team engage with it to work out any problems or to say yes or no or any modifications that normally occurs in the process. So all I was saying is that the outer limit is 6 months, because I have to do this by the end of the year. So that was not a statement that characterized yes or no. It was simply saying it passed a few days ago. I have 800 some bills to review, and this is actually going to get my full attention. But on that,
it'll get your full attention once your cronies who are paying you will be satisfied and ready to act against it. This is why people who often go, we got to tax the rich or punish the wealthy. This is what actually happens. The wealthy write the rules or make sure they're good enough and delay them so that they're ready to respond to whatever the rule is. So this may be some punishment on Bitcoin or whatever it might be. But what will happen is they'll be ready for it. So they'll do the cool thing to get around the thing or go someplace else or whatever so that they don't get hurt. Who will be hurt? The little guy.
On that very question, we have to be very cautious about allowing more facilities to come and go into formally closed fossil fuel generating plants. We have a different situation where some may be generating hydroelectric power, for example.
That's the
I
issue,
need to be able to examine the differences, but I'm not interested in doing anything to harm.
Have you noticed that almost no one answered the question? Almost no one. Do you know anything about what they're going to do? No.
Harm the environment, because I have the nation leading, most ambitious environmental protection plan, climate resistance plan in America, including a $4.2 billion bond act that I need the voters.
See?
I need all of you at home.
$4.2 billion bond act to crush any chance of you having an affordable way of living in the state.
To get out and make sure you vote for this November, because our children's and grandchildren's lives depend upon it.
Mr. Suozzi.
I just want to point out that when Governor Hochul was a member of Congress, she had a 50% rating from the League of Conservation Voters in her first year, 68% for her overall term. The lowest any Democrat in Congress has.
What does it have to do with cryptocurrency?
She's talked about who she takes money from. She took money from the NRA. When she was asked, why did you take money from the NRA? Why did you vote with the NRA? Why did you get endorsed by the NRA? She said, I did it because I needed it for the votes in my district. Now, where's the principle in that? I don't.
You know, I got to tell you, I respect the honesty on that one. I do. I respect the honesty on that one. I got the votes. I mean, it's crappy. He's right. There's like no principle at all. I get that. But at least she was honest on that one. Usually she doesn't even answer a question. This time she answered. It's 10 years ago. She wasn't savvy enough. She actually answered questions then. Now she won't.
I understand that. As far as cryptocurrency goes and the effect on the environment, I want to point out that I was the New York League of Conservation Voters for all of New York State.
So, but do you support the cryptocurrency bill?
I support the idea of a moratorium, but I think it should have been shorter than 2 years.
Mr. Williams.
2-year moratorium. Wow, because we have to recover. So let's stifle business.
You know, I just want to be clear so New Yorkers understand. There is a through line between donations that were given during the Cuomo-Hochul administration to now.
The Cuomo-Hochul administration. Boom, Jumaane punching, coming out swinging again. There we go. The Cuomo-Hochul administration.
Now, and what they're feeling. People in real estate who gave money, so now people are feeling the effects of eviction. 220,000 people are facing eviction of foreclosure. Climate change was
big real estate is crushing this state. They are now the largest lobby in New York State now. Big real estate. They're making big dollars. They are 100%.
An abysmal failure in this legislature. There is no money for the Climate Protection Act that was passed several years ago. We have been leading the charge to say we have to have a moratorium. As you mentioned, why would you not say, yes, I will do this in the next few days, even if you don't have time to do it now? And you cannot ignore the connection between money going to a candidate and them not doing what's right for something that's being banned in other countries. And by the way, there are other ways to mine for crypto. So this is not a moratorium on crypto. It's a moratorium on the worst way to mine.
Okay. He's right about what he said about her. He's wrong on this. Just leave it alone.
Places that are
allow for nuclear energy and this all goes away.
Mr. Williams, Governor,
okay.
did you want to respond?
Oh, I'm
Just
happy
allow
to
for nuclear
respond.
energy. All goes away.
There's a lot here. And I will simply
you're really
say,
bad.
I have been a public official for 30 years.
You've been sucking for 30 years. Got it.
I have
You're bad at what you do.
acted and voted in the best interest of the people of my district. And my at this point now, as governor of the state of New York, I will do whatever is in the best interest of the people of this state. And that
completely
is
not true.
a hallmark of how I've conducted my entire public life.
You are the state's a disaster.
About the NRA, that is an attack from over a decade ago.
What? She's right on this. The NRA attack, I'm going to give her credit on this. The NRA attack is an unfair attack. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. So I'm with her on this one. This one I'm going to give her. The NRA attack to me, not that I would care either way. I mean, that's not my issue. But it is, the NRA attack is an unfair attack. It is 10 years ago. It's an unfair attack on her. People do change. I'm not the same person. My political views have changed in 10 years. I'm sure many of you have changed, and some of you haven't. But many of you, yeah, it's absolutely true. That is an issue. But she was lieutenant governor for, 7 years? What were you saying then? Your mouth was shut then.
And I said, I represented a district back then that was very different, and I have evolved on that issue. And heaven help us if we don't get more people to evolve their positions and see the light of day after all these mass shootings,
10-year thing's not fair.
Day-to-day
there are
shootings.
many reasons to be against her.
Safety,
that 10-year-ago thing is not a reason.
To protect the health of the people, but also the safety of New Yorkers. And what we did yesterday, signing.
Job number one is health and safety. That's job, again, making this stuff up.
10 bills into law that people said could not get finished.
10 bills in the law that Jumaane Williams from the city says won't work.
Are going to be an important first start toward restoring people's faith that we will have the courage, the guts to lead, and that's exactly what New York did. We led the nation.
Thank you, Ms. Hochul. This is for Mr. Williams. Should the state pay compensation to the grieving families of the more than 15,000 patients, I believe the number is, of nursing homes and long-term care facilities who died of COVID, their families say, due to state policies under the Cuomo administration?
Now, that's a hard-hitting question. That's a tough one, right? I mean, Cuomo definitely did that. 15,000, you hear that? That's a tough one, right? I feel like the answer should be yes. It's a tough one. Our system is so bad and broken, they had no choice. I feel like I have to answer yes on this one, but I'm torn on this. The state put them into a spot that they shouldn't have been in, and it was Cuomo who did it. The reason why nothing's happening, well, is because of bigger issues than this. Believe it or not, the people who are in power care about their power more than 50,000 dead people.
The short answer, of course, they should. When I ran for lieutenant governor against the governor now, we said we needed a lieutenant governor who will stand up and speak out when New Yorkers were suffering.
Yep,
we didn't get that.
That's true.
During the pandemic, many people were telling me, don't speak.
She didn't speak out at all. She was quiet as a mouse when all that was happening. She was on the coattails of how great Governor Cuomo was. She was singing and dancing in the background. She was, she was playing hype man or hype woman. She was doing that.
Speak out against the governor. He's doing great press conferences. And I said, in between those press conferences, people are dying, just like the people you just mentioned.
I'll give Jumaane this. He's wrong on a lot, but his mouth was open back then. He was saying it back then. He was. Absolutely he was.
We turned out to be correct. I wish we had someone that would stand up then when it was hard, not when it was easy, when he was on his way out. But what we have
true. That's
in
what
the Republican Party right now is because of incumbency protection, people are getting massacred in the street. Unfortunately, Democratic leaders, and this is not specific to any one person, but Democratic leaders have continued to make decisions based on what's best for them to get reelected,
100%.
And not the New Yorker. And the New Yorker understands what they're feeling right now. As they're facing eviction, as they're facing foreclosure, they cannot pay for food. They're feeling unsafe. That is the cost of the way Albany has operated. A new governor.
He's not wrong.
Albany.
Mr. Suozzi, should the state pay compensation to the victims who died in nursing homes?
Everybody's been through a trauma with COVID. I actually lost my father-in-law early on.
That sucks.
During COVID in April of 2020. He was in an assisted living facility, went to a hospital and died shortly thereafter. So many families are suffering. Right. I don't know why we haven't had hearings to get to the bottom of exactly what happened here, to find out what the facts actually are.
I'm going to tell you why, Tom. I know why. Because if they do that, this is why Cuomo went down for grabbing people's butts and hugging people too hard and being Italian or whatever else he said. Cuomo went down for that because if he goes down for that, there's no need to have an investigation to 15,000 dead seniors in New York State because it wasn't just New York State. It was other states of the same stupidity. And if they investigate that, not only does Cuomo go down, but a bunch of other people go down. And we also find that Kathy Hochul knew about it and said nothing. She goes down too. So do other governors. This is huge. That's why there's no hearing. Or that's the reason why. They were like, oh, Cuomo was grabbing people's butts. Put him down for that and shut him up about the nursing home thing. Nothing. And nothing happened for nursing homes. Letitia James was like, I'm not saying I'm going to go get Trump. Letitia James started going after Trump. She was like, I'm not touching this. No one touched Cuomo. They just said, let's let him go away and no one gets hurt, right? That's what happened. That's the reason. If they do an actual deep dive, a lot of people go down and Hochul's hands are just as bloody as everyone else's.
I don't know why the governor has not put together a committee to look at this so we could learn lessons from what we went through.
Yep.
Now, I know how desperate a time New Yorkers faced back in 2020, more than any other place in the country. I remember the picture on your news programs and others of seeing people lined up in the freezing cold with the rain coming down, people coughing on each other, trying to go get a test. And there were refrigerator trucks full of bodies. We have not learned the lessons from COVID because we didn't have a comprehensive plan to address Omicron back in November, December, January of last year.
Yeah, we
while the
did.
governor was
Lock
traveling the
everything
state
down and
doing
crush
fundraising.
everyone. That was
Ms.
our
Hochul,
plan.
Does the state owe those grieving families compensation?
Dodge.
My first weeks on the job as governor,
Come on,
I
Dodge.
brought in the families who are representing the voices of countless others who are absolutely devastated.
No. 15,000. You can count them.
By what happened to their loved one in a nursing home because they were not protected. Weeks ago, I said, I want a complete analysis of what happened during COVID, the good, the bad, the ugly, and that includes nursing homes. So give us time to put together.
Give us time after the election. After the election. And when I can figure out how to just blame Cuomo, then I'll tell you.
Commission of people who are independent, not
a commission of people. Don't I always say this? We're going to make a commission of people who are independent because, yeah, there we go. Yeah, because she doesn't know what happened. I think she was like right there. Wasn't she like right there? I think she has a clue on what happened. But we're going to get this independent commission, which she'll make sure her and her husband will take care of. And I'm sure they'll somehow say Cuomo's all by himself.
The consultants were advising the last administration. I want to make sure we find.
The last administration was your administration. Oh, now, what, you weren't lieutenant governor? You didn't know what was happening? Okay.
Now, exactly what happened in the nursing home.
Do those people deserve compensation?
I gave them an apology, and I said I will look at.
I gave them an apology. Sorry about that. I gave him. Now, don't get me wrong. I shouldn't be flippant. An apology is a nice start. The sad part is that's where it's stopping. You and I both know that's where that's stopping. That's it. We're gonna do a thing. That's all she's gonna say. I'll check stuff out.
This even further to determine what else we can do to help them.
Okay. We're going to move on here to this final segment, and we're looking for one-word answers.
One-word answers.
You can pull that off. Please give us one-word answers, and we'll start with this. In one word, and we'll start with Mr. Williams. What is the one thing you simply cannot live without besides your family?
Ooh. Can't live without besides your family. One word. Can't live without besides your family. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. My family's important to me, obviously. But I would actually go, if I had to say one word, I would actually say friends. Because I still want, or community. Because I still want to have other people in my life. And anything else without my community wouldn't work, right? So whether I used my TV or my phone or whatever, sports, whatever thing I might like, video game, whatever, if I don't have my friends around me and my community, you guys are part of that. Thank you so much for being part of my community. I need that. So I would say community or friends, either one.
One word.
My love of theater and acting.
Theater and acting. All right.
My Bible.
My Bible.
Swazi.
I probably have to say my phone.
My phone. He was honest.
The next question goes to you, Governor.
The rest of them were pandering.
What's your absolute number one biggest pet peeve?
Pet peeve. Number one biggest pet peeve. One word. Hypocrites. I'm gonna go with hypocrites.
Sure, can't be a couple words.
Okay, go for a couple. I'll give you on this. You can have 3 words.
People talking on cell phones, on airplanes when they should be turned off, or other places, disrupting the peace.
People not following the rules. Hear that?
Mr. Swazi?
Hypocrisy.
Oh, good one. See that? Me and him.
People in these jobs for the wrong reason.
Yes. Good one too.
Where'd we go?
Yes.
Who's next?
Mr. Swazi.
Mr. Swazi. Sorry. Mr. Swazi, do you believe in ghosts?
You believe in ghosts? No. They thought that was a question. That matters. Do you believe in ghosts? No.
I believe in spirits, though. Yeah, I guess I do. Okay.
Spirits?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Williams.
Spirits.
I'm a man of faith, so I don't know if I call it ghosts, but I do believe in afterlife, and my ancestors are there.
Ms. Hochul.
Yeah, I speak to my mother all the time. I lost her just months before I became lieutenant governor, and she led a challenging life, and I draw inspiration
I just
from her
would have
every
said
single
no.
day. So yes,
I don't believe in ghosts.
Communicate with someone who's no longer.
And that's okay if
with
you
us.
don't believe in ghosts. And by the way, it's okay if you do believe in ghosts. It doesn't make you a better or bad governor or good governor if you believe in ghosts or spirits or no, that it's a dumb question. I don't believe in ghosts. So what?
One word, Superman or Batman?
Without question, Batman. Don't even, Batman, stop, Batman. Don't you dare say Superman. Batman is the answer.
Oh man, I gotta go Batman there.
Thank you. That's my man.
Governor?
Right there.
Superwoman.
Boo! You had to do ID politics on that one? You couldn't just answer the question? Boo.
Mr. Swazi.
Superman.
Boo.
Ms. Hochul, what's your biggest
Only Jemani was
weakness
right.
or flaw?
What's your biggest flaw? Okay. They're going to do just like the cheesy people teach you in job interviews. Say I'm so perfect. I got to take care of everything. That's stupid idea of a flaw versus giving a real flaw that's believable. What's my flaw? I have multiple, but I think my biggest flaw is I am sometimes too trusting. I'll say that. I am sometimes too trusting to a point where I want people to be good and powerful and strong, and sometimes mistakes get made that shouldn't have gotten made. And I am prepared sometimes to sacrifice errors for people's growth, and that is not always the right answer. So I sometimes regret it. I'm sometimes too trusting. That I think is a truth. It does screw me over sometimes.
There's probably many. Ask my husband of 38 years.
Oh, stop. I'm married, see?
I am a real stickler for just details. I'm always pressing people to give me more information, more. I feel for my staff because I'm always pressing them to give me more answers.
Mr. Swazi.
Cheesy answer.
When I see a problem, I have to solve it.
I gotta fix everything.
One word.
So she just had like 20 words.
Okay, fine. Mr. Williams.
Mr. Williams.
Yeah, I said I have Tourette syndrome, ADHD. I have related OCD symptoms. So that can be good sometimes to focus. And I love my wife. I'm sure she may have some different stories.
Wow, he literally said my problems with Tourette's is sometimes a problem. It's weakness. Well, you know, Jemani, you're wrong on a lot, but you're a good guy. We got to turn you, man. We got to turn you. You're a good guy, but man, just that stuff you went. All right.
So, Mr. Swazi, okay. Name one place from your childhood, that you still wish still existed.
There was a woods across from my house growing up where we used to make forts and things like that, and they built a new development there.
From my childhood.
Mr. Williams.
I like the old Yankee Stadium because you could go by the bleachers and watch all the players come in and get signatures. When I was a kid, I got signatures of all the Yankees from the 70s. That's what I was, the old Yankee Stadium.
I used to love going to Grenada to visit my grandmother. That house meant a lot to me. It's no longer there.
Governor.
Crystal Beach, an amusement park across the border from Buffalo that had an amazing roller coaster.
I would say.
Mr. Williams, what's your go-to karaoke song?
I don't really do karaoke. I haven't done karaoke since like I was in Japan. Like it's been that long. And I used to like, oh my God. Earth, Wind, and Fire. Yes. Do you remember the 23rd night of December? September. I forgot. Anyway, I forgot the words. It's been like 30 years. But yes, that was my go-to back in the day. Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Go-to karaoke song, it'll probably Maxwell, Pretty Wings.
Can you sing it?
Pretty wings.
See, I did a little singing. I did a little bit. Mine was bad.
Sounds just like
mine.
it. Ms. Williams. Ms. Hochul, sorry.
Got told to my wife.
Go-to karaoke has to be Sweet Caroline, and I'm not singing it.
Oh, come on, Governor.
I did a little bit.
Nope.
Mr. Swazi.
Our daughter is Caroline, so we sing that all the time, but probably Beyond the Sea by Bobby Darin.
And will you sing it?
No.
Shelly said it's September. I thought it was September.
We want to thank you all for a spirit.
So that was the debate. You saw what it did. I hope you understand that I would have better answers for all of those questions, without question, all of them. This was an embarrassment. This is what the debate is now. Them talking about ghosts and stuff and not answering questions, even worse. Guys, if you like that, like, comment, and share. And of course, please do me a favor. Head over to libertarians.com, or even better, take that link right there and share that link into other spaces so that people will go over there, see what libertarianism.com is about. It's a good place to go. Please go do that. You can get cool merch there if you want to, which is awesome. Cool merch. It's free if you take the classes. If you don't, you can buy the merch if you want to. Up to you. If you want to support me getting out there and being in that debate stage and embarrassing those people, LarrySharpe.com/donate. If you want to do that, help me out. LarrySharpe.com/donate. Trying to raise extra money to make sure I can be on the ballot. You know I'm going to have to fight for this thing because that's how it is. We're going to have money for lawyers and lawsuits and all the things that come up. Help me out if you can. I would appreciate it. But always like, comment, and share. You guys had a lot of comments, but I didn't want to go through the comments yet, really, because this would be 3 hours long. I just did 3 hours. So, yes. A couple people talking about the Backstreet Boys. Yep, absolutely. Let's see. Jumaane Williams on a libertarian. Get Jumaane Williams a libertarian team. I don't know if we could, Paula. Look, I think, and this is my opinion, I think Jumaane is actually a good guy. I've met him before. He's a good guy. The fact that he has Tourette's and still does this, kudos for that. He's just really far left. That's what he is. But I do believe, here's the difference between him and I think others. I think he's far left because I think he honestly believes that's the best way of getting what he wants. If we could convince him that there was a better way to get what he wants, I think he'd be an amazing asset. I agree with you. I wish we could. Look, if we get there, I would talk to him. I would try to get him if I could, but I don't know if he's there, to be forward with you. I don't know. He's probably links with us on some criminal justice points. He probably does, but I don't know if he is libertarian enough, if that makes any sense. It would take some time. But am I open to the idea? Yes. Open to the idea. Have the conversation. Absolutely. Happy to do it. But I don't think he's there, if that makes any sense. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm happy to have the conversation. So he says September. You're right. Yes, I remember that. Yes. Thank you. Absolutely. Shelly also says Batman doesn't have superpowers, so he's the best. Exactly. That is correct. Yes. That's exactly right. Thank you, Shelly. You get that. Absolutely. 100%. Michael says, go Gotham or go home. Well done. That's amazing. Absolutely. It's very good. Andrew says, does Hochul have a Ouija board? Maybe. I mean, maybe she does. Joe says they're dumb questions. They are. I think they really were not great questions. I think they weren't, right? Andrew says her Bible. You know, for a lot of people, I think that would be a real thing. There are many people who gain a lot of strength from their faith and from the Bible and the church. That's true. That's not her. She's pandering what she said, which that's what bothers me. There are people who really, they get a lot from their faith. A lot of people do. That's not her. She is power hungry. So yeah, that's not the answer. Shelly says faith. Yes, thank you. A lot of people do get that. They do. But that's not her, right? That is not her. The HCS disciple says freedom. Like that idea. Dave says pizza. I do like pizza. I don't get to eat it as much now, right? That's the issue. I don't get to eat that much of it because I'm on keto, so I can survive during this campaign. So yeah, absolutely. Shelley also responds, the other states follow Cuomo's murderous lead. Yes, Shelley, and that's why they won't do details. You're exactly correct. That is why if you keep going, right, it's gonna be deep. Too deep. That's it. Joe says, taxpayers shouldn't pay for Cuomo's mistake. Cheryl's on your side. She goes, when you say the state, are you talking about taxpayers? Cuomo should be sued. Shelly's with you. Yes, make Cuomo pay. Yeah, you know, I was leaning on yes because I felt like the people should get something, right? That's where my heart went right to that. My head went to, you know what, they got to get something. The state did it to them, but maybe, I mean, in this specific case, Cuomo's got the cash. He's worth over $20 million. So maybe, right? I'm open. You know what? I'm open to that. I feel like they should get something because they were put in a spot to where their loved ones were ordered to go there. And the only way you could have said no is if you had enough money or a situation where you could take your loved one home, or you could put them in some other specialized home, not a state-run home. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe suing is better. I feel this gets something. And I think my initial gut was yes because of that. But maybe you're right. I think I'm open to the idea of Cuomo being sued instead. That may be a better one. All right. Look, I can change. I can do it. Absolutely. And I was just trying to think what makes the most. Yeah. Okay. Michael says, Larry, a pallet of ramen would corrupt me. We're all corruptible. We're all corruptible. We're all human beings. The question is, what's going to turn us, right? Cryptocurrency harms the environment. What they mean by this, Rocket Man, is that cryptocurrency can be very draining, right, on energy. So if we've got a bunch of coal-fired plants, then a lot of coal's used. That's what they mean by that. And my point is, none of this matters if you just get nuclear energy. Who cares? Nuclear energy, cryptocurrency away. Mine all you want. Who cares? Absolutely. Yes. So, all right. Let's see if I can go and grab a couple more of these if I can. Let's see. Paula says, would love to see Williams beat Kathy and you beat Williams. That will be great. But the odds of Kathy Hochul not winning this thing are slim. She is still the most popular of the Democrats in every poll of Democrats. She's still the most popular of the Democrats in every poll. She still has $20 million. So I think the odds of her losing this are slim. She is winning right now in every poll. I don't think she'll do any more. I don't think she will any more debates. She's done one. She's done. She didn't get beat up that badly. I mean, in my eyes, she did, but most Democrats won't see it that badly. So yeah, I don't think. I think she's about done. So yes. The Rocket Man says term limits in the Assembly. Yes, more importantly than executives. I think executives too, but they went the opposite. They were like, no, only executives. It's more important in Congress and the Assembly and the Senate. More important than that. Again, I think all of them, but if I have to choose one or the other, of course, legislature. Far more important than executives. We do get rid of executives. That does happen sometimes. We never get rid of our Congress people or assemblymen. I mean, oh my God, it's so rare. So yeah, absolutely. 100%. Trisha says, term limits, ranked choice voting, open primaries. Yes. What I call the BRO program, BRO. Easier ballot access, right? Ranked choice voting, open primaries, throw term limits on top. Absolutely. Yes. 100%. 100%. So Rocketman says, what about voter ID laws? This is an issue in New York State. Many people don't know this. In New York State, we actually have voter ID laws. The issue you find is many of the poll workers don't actually do what they're supposed to do. Some will. If you voted in New York State, as often as I had, I've been voting in New York State for decades. If you go to the polls, it's hit or miss. Sometimes you'll find a poll worker who will ask you for ID and then look and check and make sure that it's the same person as you. They look for the signature and the thing and the picture. They'll do it. They're supposed to. Some will just go, find your name, sign. It all depends upon what poll work you get. It's very hit or miss. But we actually have voter ID laws in New York State. If you want to have better safer elections there, it's not about changing laws in New York State. It's about changing the actual people who are doing the work in New York State. Many people don't know that, but that's actually true. We do have voter ID laws in New York State. The issue is many of the poll workers, I shouldn't say most, depends on where you are. Many of the poll workers just go, whatevs. They don't care. Some will actually check. If you've done it often, you'll sometimes go there and remember, they'll ask for an ID. You don't have to have a driver's license, by the way. It's not required. An ID will work. A school ID will work. New York City hands out city IDs. If you don't have a driver's license, New York City will hand out an ID. You can actually go to the DMV and get a state ID that's not a driver's license. So any of those work in New York State. Any of the IDs to include state schools, school IDs will also work. So they will, and all those things will work. In fact, if you're in high school and you're 18, a high school ID will also work. So we already have it. The question is, as I say, if you want safer, better elections, the answer is not more laws in New York State. The answer is more people being involved in New York State. That is the answer. More people being involved, more poll workers, more poll watchers. That is the answer in New York State. So I hope that answers your question at least. Yes. So Joe says, I disagree. If a person is subject to taxes, they should be allowed to vote. I get that logic. I do, Joe. I get the logic, but the issue is they're able to vote in their own country. And in most cases, they're also paying taxes in their own country. Their representation is in their own country. That's where it is. If they become a citizen, the representation is now here, in which case now they should vote. That's how I see it. I get people disagree. Clearly, people in New York City disagree with me. Clearly, you disagree. My view is your representation is in your other country if you're just here on a green card, right? But if you stay here and become a citizen, now it becomes here. You should vote. Absolutely. That's how I see it. So yes. Let's see if I can do this here. Yeah, Shelly says, I noticed his body takes on Tourette's. Yes, he does have Tourette's. Absolutely. Which is why I have extra respect for him, because a lot of people who have Tourette's would never try to be a public figure. They wouldn't even try. He does. And I give him credit. Guy's got Tourette's and he's like, I'm a public figure. I don't care. I'm out in front anyway. Take me with my tics and all. Don't care. I respect that. I do. I always want to try all the time. I want to try my best to give credit where credit is due. So yes. Let's see. David says, I wish I could be a Democrat. It's so easy to control everyone else's lives except for abortion and require churches to perform same-sex marriage. You're not wrong. So yes, absolutely. All right. Let's see here. Dottie says, Uncle Joe is writing checks for Ukraine. Not anyone here in the U.S. We are not laundering his money. No. He's writing checks not to us. He's writing checks to the state. Right? He's still doing that, Dottie. He's still writing checks to New York State. He's still doing that. He's supporting Kathy Hochul. She is just spending a ton of money, and he is still writing checks to her. New York State is still, the federal government is still absolutely throwing money into New York State. They absolutely are. So yeah, absolutely. Yes. So David says, you know what she'll do when Uncle Joe stops the checks? She'll get her racketeering husband on it. You know what? Maybe. Maybe. Absolutely. Yes. So that's good. Let's see here. If I can grab a couple more. So many of these. I appreciate it. Shelley says, Cuomo used PSAs as free campaigning. Who will do the same? That's true, right? So the PSAs can be a bad idea, but of all her bad ideas, you know what? I'll take the PSA, right? I mean, if I got to choose of all her bad ideas, I'll take that one, right? I mean, I've got to decide level of bad, Shelley, right? I will do that. So yes. Brennan says, how can you eat spaghetti on keto? There's probably some kind of keto noodle, I would guess. So I guess you put it on that and maybe sugar-free sauce, maybe. I guess you could. I just don't eat spaghetti. So yeah, but maybe. I think you could. Yes. Ryan says, Hochul has 20 million. Yes, she does. It's true. Let's get more for money for me. Yes, LarrySharpe.com/donate. Please, guys, if you can, I would appreciate it. Every single bit you can would be great. Yes, absolutely. So 100%. All right. Let's see here. I grab a couple more. Let's see. Joe says, I'm ugly and I still run for office. I know. I get it. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. I think it's called spaghetti keto. That's great. Absolutely. I love that. All righty. I think I grabbed most of the people here. I appreciate that. Hold on. Leslie, you were mad because you need to pick up. Okay. There are some people who are upset. Leslie, I hope you're still watching. You will be able to get payment. I've said it more than once. You guys blowing up my social media, you're just giving me more. I'm putting you up. You're just giving me more likes and more engagement. So I know you think you're somehow making me angry. You're not at all. You have to go through what I told you to go through. You have to have W-9. You're not employees. You are contractors. That's how it works. And it wasn't actually through my campaign. It was through somebody else, but I'm taking care of you anyway. And I've expressed this already. I don't know why you keep doing it. If you want to keep doing it, please keep doing it. You give me more engagement. Thank you. And I'm not running away from this, but please keep giving me more engagement. Put it on all my stuff. It's great. People will still respond. But yes, of course you are. I've said it publicly. I will take care of it, even though it's literally not my issue. I will take care of it. And I've said, you will get it. You have to provide all the paperwork. You're not employees. You are contractors. That's how New York State works. So just putting up your timesheet doesn't get you paid. You have to also have W-9, and you will get paid in order as contractors get paid. You will, 100%. So if anyone's wondering, I guess people think they're employees and they get a weekly check or something. That's kind of not how that works. So yes. Plus something else, I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I don't have $20 million in the bank that I just throw at people, right? I don't have a system. My system is full of volunteers. So it's volunteers for people who are trying to do this, right? It's not a payroll, right? This is, you guys, two things. One, my team is full of volunteers. These are people who are trying to make things work. So they go out of their way, but they also leave. They get COVID. Things begin to fail. Absolutely. That's how it works. But you will be paid. But to be forward, this other people were asking, the people were actually, you don't get paid every week. That's not how that works. You get paid as soon as I can get the payment to you with the paperwork required. And it didn't go through me. It went through somebody else who was taken care of. That person didn't do what they were supposed to do. I am picking it up even though I don't have to. I'm doing it anyway. And I publicly said, I will take care of it. That's how it works. There we go. So if you want to keep posting, please keep posting. I'm not hiding from this. You know, people are like, oh, we're going to sue you. Sue me. Give me a W-9. You're a contractor. You'll get paid. Done deal. So if you want to, you can. Up to you. You do what you feel is appropriate. But if you want to keep going, go ahead. We'll take care of it. So, any case, yes. Terrence says one hell of a way to deal with an issue. Awesome. Yeah, I'm the guys. You know me well enough. I'm an open book. It's how it works. If I didn't want to pay them, I would tell you I wasn't going to pay you. That's what I would say, right? I would just tell you I'm not going to, but I am. But again, there is no. You'll get paid. If you want to get angry, get angry. It's fine. If it makes you feel better, do that. But it's not gonna speed anything up or slow anything down. It's not gonna happen. So enjoy whatever you like. Enjoy, do whatever you feel is appropriate. David says, my brother's a contractor too, and he isn't on payroll, and he is paid regularly. Yes, I'm a contractor. I get paid regularly. You have to submit, literally, you submit your W-9 and you submit your invoice and you get paid. That's kind of how it works. So yes, absolutely. Joel says you could volunteer your time to the cause. She didn't have to. I'm not asking Leslie to volunteer. I'm not asking her to volunteer. She does not have to. I would love her to. Not required. She'll take care of that. Absolutely. David says, well, respect for posting that comment. Again, guys, I'm not running from this. You never see me do that, ever. You will never see me do this again, ever. Absolutely. Yes. All right. Let's see here. Let me keep going on here. I did the spaghetti. There we go. Shelly says spaghetti made with eggs is considered keto. There we go. Thank you. There's the spaghetti question. So there we go. There's the spaghetti question. 100%. I hope that answered that one. So let's see here. Any other issues or questions? There we go. I think we're good. Guys, I want to say thank you very much for this evening. I appreciate the butt, Larry, as always. I appreciate everything you've done. Please like, comment, and share. And of course, please support libertarianism.com. They are my sponsor of the show. If you want to support my campaign as I keep moving forward and helping to pay people like Leslie, yes, please donate. LarrySharpe.com/donate is always going to help me move forward, to move everything forward to the best of our ability. See if we can make change in this state. This is what's most important. Change in the state. That is what matters. Thank you guys so much. I will see you all very soon.